Good evening, everybody. I was hoping to start around 7:30, but I wasn't quite able to finish dinner at a good time. It's almost an hour past that time, so it didn't take me over an hour to eat dinner, but I did have a couple of things interrupting. So, still kind of working through, the work situation and not feeling 100%. The biggest thing here is that it is affecting my sleep, and so even this weekend wasn't the most restful. But I'm going to the big thing is I don't want to be like a complete sad sack every stream. Like it's something that I'm going to have to work through, and it is going to be something that's affecting my ability to, to get, it's going to affect my ability to put on like a good show just by virtue of the fact that if I'm feeling exhausted, I'm going to, um, I'm just not gonna stream as well. But yeah, in any case, this one is something that I picked up over. Hello, Lord Gloom. Hello, Pugporg. This is one that I picked up over the weekend, and in one sense, it's not a great thing that it did this, but I put a lot of time into this game. I was actually planning on catching up on some of the reading that I had in mind. By the way, I'll take a quick minute here and shout out Lord Gloom, who I've only really kind of nibbled at the stream for the last couple of days just because I've had to do something else, but is another broadcaster, somebody who actually found me when I was playing Cobalt Core. Does not limit themselves to card games, but does do quite a bit of it. Was doing some Lego last time I watched, and then as in making Lego, not playing one of the Lego games, and then also plays a lot of Escape from Tarkov. In any case, on my side, so I picked this up. I was debating. I actually put off buying this for a while. Actually, I can load up the game. I put off buying this for a while because I have not yet finished all of the factions for Gladius, Warhammer 40k Gladius Relics of War. But so I was never sure if the conversion kit was an official Lego product or if it was just a thing that people did. I actually think I have a functioning Game Boy in the apartment. And a chance to get one. Thing is, I haven't turned it on in like forever, so but anyway, let's talk about ZEPHON, and let's talk about the studio behind it. So Proxy Studios, as far as I can tell, has done 3, I'm going to call them 4X games, but I'm also going to offer some caveats on that. Hopefully not in like a, how do I put this? Like hopefully not in a, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. I'm hoping this is not taken as, like knocking their 4X. They have a specific way of doing 4X games that I think is quite different from some of the other ones that I really enjoy. So the first one I'm aware of that they did was Pandora First Contact. Someone actually suggested that this was a follow-up to, not a follow-up. It's a sort of inspired by Alpha Centauri. I actually don't know if that's true or not, because I now own it. I did pick it up based on the strength of Gladius, but it's the one I've actually played the least. So I couldn't tell you for sure what's going on with it. It does seem to be one that does have, it's probably the most 4X-y out of, again, this is based off of very, very little gameplay, so I really want to be careful in terms of how I see this. It's probably the more 4X-y out of them, but I couldn't say, I don't know if I could really say this like for sure. In any case, that one is from 2013. The next one that they made is probably the one that they're best known for, which is Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War. I think it's the first time I've seen the 4X or Warhammer take on the 4X genre. So this is one which, I mean, it probably doesn't require much introduction. It's very positive on Steam. It's published by Slytherin, as is Pandora First Contact. It's, at least for me, the first time I've seen 40K do a 4X style game. I'll also mention that this was very recently available completely for free as part of the Skulls event for the Games Workshop thing. So now it's full price, but it's one that I've enjoyed. It's one also, I do actually have the DLC for it, so I've quite a bit. I mean, it's at the point now where I've just slowly accumulated it so that when something like the Eradication Pack comes out, it's not like a major it's not a major hardship to pick it up. And I mean, obviously it's nice to support the things that that you like, right? But I will confess, I've not played all of the factions yet. I believe I still need to do the Tyranids, the Drukhari, and ironically the Adeptus Mechanicus, because I believe that was the first DLC that I bought, but then I wanted to try and get a bit of a better understanding. Now, it probably won't surprise you to find out that Gladius doesn't have a whole lot of room for diplomacy, right? In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, or whatever the tagline is. So, true to form, right? It's you can make teams inside the game, but it's definitely a game which is much more focused on the combat. That's not necessarily a knock, but it's actually something that I find kind of interesting in terms of where, 4X games that are not Sid Meier's Civilization have gone. So in the case of Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War, your option, there's a story campaign to do. Now, the story campaign usually has a big fight at the end. It's a little bit like RimWorld, right? You can get lots of DLC, you can tell lots of different stories, but the fact of the matter is, at some point, you're going to run into an endgame thing, which probably involves doing a lot of combat. And, if you don't like the combat in RimWorld, maybe you're not as inclined to see the thing through to the very end. So there are definitely some stories in Gladius. They take the setting seriously. They give you lots of different things to do inside of it. But in the end, you're going to be on a planet. You're going to be fighting other races, right? Or if you're the Imperium, you don't like the Xenos. If you're the Xenos, you don't like the Imperium. If you're Chaos, you don't like anybody. It's a combat game, and it's built that way. But of course, I'll talk about the different layers of strategy when I'm in ZEPHON. So. That I like Gladius. I could probably spend some more time inside of it, but I think it's a pretty neat game that adopts a genre I'm particularly fond of, the 4X. So I was really interested when they announced ZEPHON for two reasons. One, they are not just a developer on this one, but they are actually also publisher. So in this case, the studio has sort of grown and felt confident enough to be able to take on all the responsibilities for themselves, which is always exciting to see. I'm hoping that doesn't mean bad terms with Slytherin or something like that, because they seem like an interesting publisher. They certainly publish in the genres that I find interesting. But more importantly, they are doing something, in my opinion, pretty interesting and original. They are creating sort of their own science fiction universe for the sake of this game. I was quite surprised, actually, when I played the full game, how much the story matters. At least for me. I think it's actually one of the things that was an unexpected sort of surprise and delight out of it. And I actually compared this. So I played the demo when they put it out because it was one that seemed interesting. And again, I probably should have bought this on release. I mean, because again, if you don't support the things you like, you're not going to see more of the things that you like. But it was quite literally just because I had such a backlog on Gladius of all things. Not even any of their other games, my whole library, but like Gladius itself is a blocker to this. that it was just one of these things that I didn't pick up, and largely to my detriment, in my opinion. So what I'll do here is I'll just share the Steam page. Actually, I can display capture for this. I'll do the readout for what this is, and then we'll hop into the game, and I'll sort of talk about what I find interesting, both about where 4X has gone, if it doesn't have the Sid Meier name on it, and some of the things that I think make ZEPHON good. By the way, I'm not necessarily very good at this, but we'll learn together. So, from the developers of Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, ZEPHON is a post-apocalyptic 4X strategy game built on Proxy's unique tactical combat system. Guide survivors through a turbulent future, navigating unexpected disasters, eldritch horror, and cyberpunk monstrosities. What will you do to survive? So, I'm gonna skip. Actually, here we can do the reviews. That's what the Proxy decided to put this on for us. So, it's always a delight to see a new and interesting looking game world, one you'd really want to play around in, and Proxy Studios ZEPHON looks to be set up to deliver just that. There's a new gold standard in combat-focused 4X. ZEPHON is a post-apocalyptic hellscape, bursting at the seams of sentient mechs, mutated beasts, and void horrors. From your first turns to your last, you will be fighting to survive. And PC Games End, Civilization 6 in-depth strategy, and Frostpunk's brutal vision of the apocalypse have a rival in a new 4X game. Between combat, construction, research, and narrative, ZEPHON has a unique interpretation of all the strategy sims staples. And I do want to talk about combat-oriented 4X, but let's get the description out of the way first. Humanity emerges hesitantly into ruination. Almost nothing is left of the world as we knew it. Settlements, forests, seas, mountains, all have been blasted into unfamiliarity. Horribly mutated animals hunt in packs through deformed woodland. Decrepit military robots stumble unknowingly through the ruins, sensors and logic centers blown. Alien soldiers, once impossibly powerful, cower in the wrecks of their ships, praying to heedless gods for rescue. Control the survivors of humanity in a near-future apocalypse of alien origin. Pick a path between the indifferent abominations of The Voice and the uncaring automata of ZEPHON, with city management, turn-based tactical combat, unholy research, diplomatic maneuvering, and branching narrative quests. Gather your allies and pick your actions wisely. On the planet Earth, that was once a cradle of life, the extinction of humanity is at hand. What will you do to survive? Battle, intense turn-based survival strategy in both single and multiplayer, command over 50 unique units in battle, each with its own graphics, voiceovers, weapon systems, and sets of traits and abilities. Plan out optimal build orders amongst 3 asymmetric paths, human, voice, and cyber, or combine them in surprising ways. Deploy tactical operations, interface protocols, otherworldly hymns of decay, and even nuclear weapons to gain an advantage. Combat occurs on the main map, no switching modes or having to auto-resolve battles because they drag on too long. Use distinctive leader abilities in fully featured multiplayer or with or against your friends. Build. Take your settlements from scrappy bases to sprawling metropolises as your faction expands its sphere of influence. Find and grow your cities by constructing buildings on tiles. Everything you build needs space. Optimize an empire-wide economy with 11 tiered resources, allowing you to specialize cities by their placement. Recognize each building by its appearance, 3 architecture styles to accompany your chosen path. Fortify key strategic points to prevent enemies from assailing your positions. Sometimes defense is the best defense. Explore, traverse the unfamiliarity of the destroyed Earth and unveil its deadly new secrets. Discover dozens of terrain features and phenomena spread across 6 climates: flesh trees, microchip factories, traveling sandstorms, erupting volcanoes, and more. Tune the generation of a new post-apocalyptic game world. Cliffsides, ruins, and deformed woodland occupied by violent wildlife and expanding NPCs acting out their own agendas. Exterminate packs of mutated animals to collect caches full of rewards. Capture outposts and expand your reach 1 turn at a time. Research. As mankind strives to catch up to the new masters of the Earth, you'll make strange new discoveries that could be just what you need to survive. Unlock over 150 technologies spread across 10 tiers: units, buildings, operations, weapons, abilities, and passive bonuses. Advance from post-apocalyptic survivalism through a blend of magic and cyberpunk aesthetics before achieving transhuman transcendence. Observe each unit upgrade visualized on the model, outfit regular, large, and titanic units with cruise missiles, tunneling nails, deflector shields, and much more. Read exact modifier numbers and tooltips and the easy-to-browse game compendium, so you don't have to scour the internet for information. One argument I would make, by the way, is it would be kind of nice if there was a manual, but I'll work with it. Negotiate. This is, I think, the biggest improvement from Gladius. Diplomatic negotiations are key to staving off defeat, but your opponents are watching your actions and reacting. Roleplay with AI-controlled opponents through diplomatic encounters. Each AI comes with its own likes and dislikes based on their character. Establish peace, trading agreements, and alliances, or use your influence to antagonize your friends towards each other. Choose sides. ZEPHON, Akron, and Reaver. Non-player factions permeate the world and need to be contended with. Decide. As the clash between ZEPHON and the Akron continues, your choice of leader and path will determine who survives in the wreckage of Earth. Steer your empire through multi-stage, branching, unexpected events, nightmares, cries for help, and economic crashes all have to be dealt with. Dive into your chosen leader's backstory through the unique quest chain. Complete it to unlock a permanent reward. Play a key part in determining if humanity, machines, or horrors prevail. The clash between ZEPHON and Akron continues across the planet. And resolve the prophecy that has brought the Akron to Earth to unlock new game modifiers. All of this has happened before and will happen again. Open your eyes, Singleton. You are not dreaming. You are the dream. The old world is dead. Your old self is dead. So who are you now? We were the meek, the silent, and the accomplice. Individually, we were no one. Together, we are God itself. Woo us, fear us, worship us. These are all acceptable answers to the riddle of what you can do for us. The Furtive Tribunal. All right, so long introduction. But I guess before I go into the introduction, I would the introduction in game. I guess the one thing I would say before I hop in, the thing that I find most interesting about the setting here is that it's not easy to create a new. I'm gonna feel a little bad saying this word, but it's not easy to create a new IP, right? You have, one of the appeals of something like Warhammer 40,000 is everyone knows what it is. You can use this shorthand. It's almost the appeal of doing something like fan fiction. You don't necessarily have to, get your reader, you get your audience's attention or spend a lot of time explaining things to them. And that's not a knock on people who use existing franchises. But, the fact of the matter is that people are talking about how a lot of things are like remakes or adaptations, right? There's lots of Marvel movies out. There's lots of I don't want to say, they are derivative works, but there's a lot of works that are relying on familiarity with a set of topics. And that's not even necessarily a bad thing, right? There's lots of, in terms of ancient mythology, you have a lot of very good writers doing their own spin on these stories. But it is very interesting when somebody does actually go out of their way to make a new thing. And it's interesting to see how people solve this in different ways. So, for instance, Stellaris kind of avoided the question of making a new setting. To a certain extent, what they did was they made a big sandbox and a set of rules, and it basically said, okay, so, we can't tell you that you can make Warhammer 40k in this. We're just going to allow you to make, an imperial, faction, and they can be humanoid, and they can be very militaristic, and they're not the Empire from Warhammer 40k or the Imperium from Warhammer 40k. I don't know where you got that idea, but it's like, or you like Ian Banks, well, you can make the culture, or you. Like, basically anything that you can imagine in anything you can imagine is largely permitted inside of the game. And, you see the trailers, you see the story events and things like that. It is developing something of its own identity. But in terms of breaking into the public imagination, they decided to sort of make make something where you would be filling in those blanks for yourself. And ZEPHON in this case has decided to do an original setting, which means they're taking on the responsibility of letting you know who these people are, why they're fighting, why the world is the way that it is. And you can see from that description, there's a lot there. There's going to be a lot to get into. But I was sufficiently impressed by this that I actually went a little bit nuts. Not only did I buy the base game, but I then actually bought up the DLC based on my impressions after the weekend. So this definitely was something that scratched a certain itch for me, maybe to the detriment of some of the other hobbies that I have. But I'm gonna play this a bit slowly because I'd like to focus on the really like coming to terms with the game, reading all the information, and basically just trying to get better. But it's the benefit of this is that because there is a story that we're going to want to understand, reading all of this will hopefully give us a better understanding of what's going on. And so without further ado, I do the introduction, start a guided game on easy difficulty as the Fallen Soldier. Sorry, I don't get to be John Gamerson, player of games, this time around.
We were not ready for their divine judgment. We were tested, and almost everyone just failed. Their dark mysticism shattered an era of enlightenment and ushered in the dusk of the 21st century. Billions of lives were lost in a heartbeat, turned to ash, and cast away in the wind. Our soldiers were gone, but our weapons kept fighting, driven by an enigma in the networks. Their surviving forces waged a desperate crusade against the machines. We became bystanders to a relentless war. Now our world is an ever-twisting nightmare. Hellish threats lurk in every whisper and shadow. There is no glory, only survival. Deliver us from this trial. Reclaim our world for mankind.
This is one of those games you play to feel better. Welcome to post-apocalyptic Earth. To move the camera, use the left mouse button, press over terrain, and move your mouse. Press the left mouse button on a unit to select it.
I'm on the clock.
Engineers can found cities. To establish your first city, click the Found City button and select a tile. So from Gladius, I know it will usually make a recommendation. So I'm a bit of a sucker. I usually just do what the game tells me to. But these aren't bad. So it tells me a couple of the bonuses, and actually this is a nice diverse set of bonuses that I can get. So when I want to make minerals, I can take those tiles to the north. When I want food, I've got a couple tiles both to the side, but also one in sort of the bottom right. So this is actually, it feels like a pretty solid choice.
Let's build something great here. No such thing as safe anymore.
Before constructing additional buildings, you must first claim another tile. Click Acquire Tile and select the tile with at least one building slot. This process will take a few turns. Okay, so I think in the tutorial it wants me to make a barracks first. So there's two things that I want to think about when it comes to putting down a or getting a tile. I want to consider the number of slots that it opens, right? So the 3s are potentially preferable to the 2s. On the other hand, though, I know some of the things that I'm going to build are not necessarily going to gain me resources. So for instance, the barracks will get me living space. It'll help me, it'll have more construction, it'll increase loyalty, but it's going to cost me energy, and it's going to take up a slot. So if I think that one of the things I'm going to want to do is focus on, acquiring minerals to construct buildings, maybe I don't want to give up the 4 tiles that I can employ towards it. So in this case here, I've got 3, in terms of the plus 10% on food, I have 9 tiles that'll potentially get me that. In terms of the 20% energy, I've got not even 12. It's actually, it's 16 tiles that get the energy bonus. But I have only 4 tiles that can potentially get me the mineral bonus. So I think we're going to start by building up on this one. Take your time to explore the interface. Every element has a hint with extra information. If you're unsure what to do next, check the large red task button on the bottom right side of the screen. It will help you focus on the next task before you end your turn. All right, so I'm just going to take a quick minute here. So one of the things I notice about this game, so this will be true for Gladius, this will be true for ZEPHON, this will be true for even Old World. One of my great flaws as a strategy gamer is I tend to treat most strategy games I play as if they were SimCity. So in Civilization, this is not that big of a deal because there's lots of relatively peaceful ways that you can win. And equally importantly, I feel that you can get away with some of these peaceful victories as long as you you make sure that you are strong enough to be able to withhold an invasion, right? But the, if you try that with Gladius, you're wasting your time, right? Like that's not how you play. That's not why you play a Warhammer 40K game, right? And the truth of the matter is that even Civilization, these all have their origins in wargaming. And so, in the end, there does have to be some sort of military element to it. And what I find interesting is that, again, there's a few different games that do, handle these in different ways. So, you have Old World is not a combat 4X, but combat is a very large part of that game. I don't necessarily think you're going to have that good of a time in Old World if you don't get a good understanding of the combat. And the AI is really tough in that one. It is one that it'll ruin you. I feel, even on like normal difficulties, I feel completely outclassed by the AI when it comes to military matters. Again, I talk about Gladius a lot just because it's the previous game from this developer. So that one is basically designed as a combat game. And this one, you have the story elements, which again you also have in Gladius, but in this one it's fair to say that the military side of the picture is something that you're going to have to focus on. And because that's something I'm not always strong on, one of the ways that I can get better is by taking the time to read and work out a strategy, try and be thoughtful about my moves. Saving reloading's another really good technique. I'll try to learn to sort of accept loss, but if there's something where I'm learning something new, I'm not opposed to to reloading. But in the end here, like one of the things that I want to do, both from a story point of view, but also in terms of getting a bit better at this style of game, I want to take the time and actually make sure that I'm understanding the different things that I'm prioritizing. I will actually also say as well, the one example that I got, and I have a feeling it's going to be like this for this game. I do enjoy RTS as well. I don't stream it as much. But I always learn the hard lesson about the differences between how I prefer to play RTS and how what it's like to play multiplayer. Multiplayer, if you are not on top of things and making fast decisions, you get clobbered, right? It was like when I did Off-World Trading Company. Whereas, if you play a single player, like if you play Dawn of War, and it's just against the AI, it might put some pressure on you. It depends on what level you're playing, but for the most part, the world sort of exists for you to take it over on your own time. So the reading is an opportunity for me to learn both the story, because you've probably noticed from that introductory cinematic, it tells you a whole bunch of bad stuff happened at once. Doesn't explain what any of that means. And a lot of that is actually going to be, that's going to be revealed as part of the, as we play through the game. So, food used to sustain the population in cities, as well as produce and maintain primarily human and voice units. Minerals used to construct buildings, as well as produce and maintain primarily human and cyber units. Energy used to maintain buildings, as well as produce and maintain special units. Algae used to produce and maintain voice units. Chips used to produce and maintain cyber units. Influence used to acquire and maintain city tiles, invoke special abilities, recruit and maintain hero units, as well as purchase items and resources. And research used to discover new technologies. Completing a discovery preserves any excess research. So, let's make some decisions. One of the things that this does that I remember from Gladius is the ability to gain resources by taking certain tiles. So there's sort of these little goodie packages. Both of these are cyber caches, gives a random cyber reward. Here's a human cache. And then there's the phase generator, capturable outpost. It gives you 2 energy per turn if you capture the outpost, and if you incorporate it into a city, you double that. You get 4. Also, it deals 50% of received weapon damage back to the attacker, but hopefully we're not getting attacked here. This is pretty close to my home. One last thing to consider before I start moving these units around. As far as I can tell, this is almost like a survival 4X. The environment is pretty hostile. So there's a little bit of a tension between the decision to sort of move the units out and explore. And, there's a big benefit to being able to capture lots of resources early on. And of course, the opening turns in a 4X, you'll have a scout or a warrior, and you'll be moving around and like trying to empty or try to see all of the different things on the map. But again, you saw the video, right? This is not exactly the sort of place you want to go out for a stroll in. And so there is that risk that if you put a unit that you think is somewhat valuable and you're sending them out into the darkness without any real indication, there's going to be in aggregate, like over all of your runs, there's probably going to be a couple of really disappointing losses. But on the other hand, if you cluster everybody together, you're maybe not getting all of the resources as quickly as you would want. And again, this is one of the cases where, reloading can be really helpful. But if you just reload every time you use a unit, what you're really identifying is that you are too lazy to build scouts and learn that lesson about how to navigate effectively. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to get the resources in the immediate area, and then we can think a little bit about how we're going to expand. Many units have activatable abilities. Outriders and sharpshooters can recall everything within 3 tiles and with the recon ability. So one of the reasons why I wanted to check this is with the green lights, right? I can see what this outrider can capture. Basically, I can get any of these tiles, but what I want to see is on a relative basis, what are my other units going to be able to grab? Capture outposts to increase your resource gain. When within cities, they also grant percent bonuses to the entire city. Some outposts can also provide bonuses to the stationed unit or grant rewards at regular intervals. So appealing to get that. Caches of human, voice, and cyber supplies are scattered throughout the map. Move a unit onto a cache to collect its contents. Okay. So if I want to move the sharpshooters up here, that's an option.
I'm not dying today. This isn't the world I knew. Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Okay, I think I know how I'm going to do this. So we're going to start by moving the sharpshooters up to capture the phase generator. I mean, I don't feel like there's that much extra map that we can generate, but seeing as I want to be moving the outrider up, let's take the time to scan. Okay, so here are the Castiel Shredders. We could actually attack them, but I'm going to do that in a little bit. So we will move the militants up to collect the cyber cache. And for this, we got the Dynamius plate. I will check that out in a little bit. So I'm potentially putting these militants in harm's way, right? These units will be able to move and attack them.
I'm not dying today. On it.
Aha! We have our own now. And then finally, we will move the outrider to the last goodies.
Drive.
And it feels a little wasteful to do this, but I'll actually trigger. I'll trigger the recon one more time.
Hang on, I'm prepping a long-range scanner.
Okay. Right. So why did I move these ways? Well, you know, they're not too spread out, and I was able to basically capture every resource on the, on the map at the beginning. We identified an enemy. We'll probably want to collapse people in to deal with this threat. And then from there, we'll probably rely on the outrider to do a bit of, to kind of see what's going on in the world. Now, before I go too far, what I want to do here is I want to actually identify a few features of my my units. So for instance, we've got this outrider, right? Group size, the number of alive as well as total group members of a unit. Group members are lost and regained with the unit losing and regaining hit points. Group members that have died off do not deal any damage, thus reducing the total damage output of the unit. So in this case, the group size is 1. It's one big vehicle. So if the hit points go down to 0, it dies. What's relevant here is this means that on paper, it does full damage until it dies. There's actually a function of damage, where if you go, I think, below like 50% of your health, it actually reduces your accuracy, but we'll deal with that when we get to that measure. Armor reduces the amount of damage taken from weapons and abilities. Each point of armor reduces the damage taken by approximately 8.3% up to 83%, but weapons and abilities ignore a number of armor points up to their armor penetration value. So in this case, with 6 armor, we get 50% armor damage reduction. Hit points, the amount of damage that a unit can sustain before dying. Units automatically heal if they have not taken damage and have full movement and action points remaining. And it says here a 10% healing rate. Morale, the psychological state of the unit. Morale regenerates if the unit has not taken damage at the previous turn. Below 66% morale, units become shaken, decreasing attacks and increasing enemy attacks by 17%. Below 33% morale, units become broken, decreasing attacks and increasing enemy attacks by 33%. When a unit dies, the unit's allies in a 3-tile radius of the dying unit and the attacker lose morale. Yeah, of the dying unit and the attacker lose morale based on the experience value of the dying unit. At the same time, the attacker's allies gain morale in the same area. So the idea here is that if you're gonna lose a unit, lose a low value unit. And then, of course, if you want to take out an enemy unit, focus on the one with the higher experience value because it knocks down the morale of everyone else. Of course, easier said than done, right? Generally, things have lots of experience for a reason. Movement, number of tiles that a unit can move through in one turn. Rough terrain requires more than a single movement point. Moving into a tile adjacent to an enemy ends movement. And actions. The number of actions that the unit can perform using an action may consume all movement. So I don't have any actions to do here. Theoretically, if there were enemies within this area here, we'd be able to attack. But all right, heavy machine gun attributes: 2 damage, 2 armor penetration. I don't think I can mouse over the. Well, I can right-click and then we can get it. So heavy machine gun. Making reliable air-cooled machine guns was going to take time. We raided old weapons depots and did what we could to get older automatic weaponry up and running. At least we had improvements to ammo management. We saved a lot of lives just by making sure these guns didn't jam up. So it tells you what the weapon, what units will use this, but what we're really interested in here, right? Damage dealt against the enemy unit with each attack of the weapon. Damage dealt is capped by the maximum hit points of a single group member of the enemy unit, and further reduced by accuracy, the enemy's armor, as well as their damage reductions. So this one's a pretty important one because, like, the idea is that if you had a cannon and it did 100 damage per shot, but you're just firing that cannon once, and you have like a group of 10 units, let's say, you are going to take out 10% of the capacity. The rest of the damage is wasted. Whereas if you have like a bunch of people attacking, then you're able to distribute the damage among different units, and it means that overall you have more. It's more effective. So if you have big single damage dealers, make sure they are pointing at things that can like absorb 100% of the damage. Otherwise, it's inefficient use of your resources. And again, this is one of the things where I like this on paper, and this is actually one of the reasons why I can really suck at these games, because this is a lot of stuff to keep in your head when you are first learning, right? If I'm playing, I like 4X games because I like Civilization, I like Alpha Centauri, I like building things. Taking the time to like learn all the details of the weapons is not my natural style, and that's one of the reasons why I'm taking the time to play this the way that I am. Armor penetration, the amount of target's armor that the weapon ignores when the unit is attacking with it. So this one's a little tricky to do, in your head, but I mean, we're essentially looking at, I guess, about 17% of the damage reduction. So for instance, if I were to hit a heavy machine gun against another Outrider, I would expect it to basically lower the damage by 33%. So like, 1/3 of 2 is not math is not my strong suit, but yeah, like you can work it out. I mean, excuse me. One way of thinking of it, right, is if you have a high armor penetration and you're using it on unarmed enemies, potentially that's wasteful. Attacks. The number of attacks a weapon makes against its target when a unit attacks with it. Accuracy. Each point of accuracy increases the hit chance by approximately 8.3%, 6 accuracy, so 50%. And range, the maximum distance in tiles away from the unit at which a target can be attacked by a weapon or affected by an ability. Unless specified otherwise, usage of a unit weapon or ability also requires line of sight to the target. So the reason I did this here, right, is that I'm going to have this composition of attacks, and this is going to become relevant once I start facing off enemy units. And of course, eventually I'm going to have to start dedicating research towards certain things. So I want to have a clear idea for myself, at least, where I want to prioritize that research. I want to define the problems that I'm running into, and I want to come up with an effective way of addressing them. Okay. Classification for the unit. Large. Bigger creatures and machines could take a pounding, but they grew weaker the more parts of them you stripped away. Leave no man behind. The fallen soldier's obsession with death made him so eager to keep every one of his troops alive. But devotion has its costs. Every life you save, every rogue soldier you bring in from the wastes is another mouth to feed. He should never have been so sympathetic. I considered it his sole weakness. So I don't think it tells me... Oh, here we go. The upkeep's 1.9. So I think it'll probably tell me in the compendium. Okay, so it's 1.9, and then presumably we add the mineral upkeep on top of that. Ex-military fast transports driven by militants, never designed to go toe-to-toe with the new enemies of mankind. But then nothing was. Artillery, nukes, carriers, all had failed. At least in an outrider, you had a chance of getting away. That's why there were so many left. So I can take the time... Oh, actually, maybe this does apply. I should actually double check to see if the minerals upkeep incorporates leave no man behind or not. Mechanical. Classification. You know what's funny? People make machines to solve complicated problems, but on the battlefield, a machine becomes a problem to solve. Sometimes it took special skills to bring them down. Sometimes you just needed a bigger machine. So I don't think this does anything on its own. I think there is probably an interaction with other abilities, though. Transport allows transportation of non-large units. Embarked units die when the transport is destroyed. The engineers had a secret. Every troop transport was built to treat people like cargo. If they feel too safe, they won't want to leave, was a line that I heard. We packed soldiers together like bodies in a mass grave. All anyone ever wanted to do was get the hell away from these things. Undying, plus 2 hit points each turn. Poor fallen soldier. If you cut him, he would bleed, but his flesh would be restored minutes after you sliced it from his skin. A few fanatics in his ranks were convinced his flesh would have healing properties, and, to his greatest horror, they were right. Carrying a piece of his body around would share some of the gift that had brought him back from the grave. Soon all his people, soldiers, pilots, mechanics, had a piece of him around their necks, a pulsing, still warm piece of flesh. Okay, and these are technologies we need to research, so I'm going to leave that. Aside. Then there's Overwatch. Use an action to attack enemy units that end their movement in attack range. Skip. Hold position until healed, disband, all the usual suspects. So I'm not going to spend, like, I'll take the inventory of the units right now, but we're not going to do this like every turn. We're just going to find out what we're up against.
Sight set.
All right, so the sharpshooters have less armor than the outrider. There's 3 of them. They have sniper rifles. So 1.5 damage, 1 armor penetration. The attack, there's a single attack, but 3 people making it. 83% accuracy, range of 3 tiles. 100% damage against non-large units. So in this case, I believe against this target, we would be doing 3 damage each. Actually, one thing I'm less clear about, I'm assuming that 1.5, I don't know if that 1.5 is per attack. So would the idea here be like 4.5, then apply the 83% accuracy for a discount? So, I don't know. I mean, let's round up on the percentage and say that, you know, maybe like a 4 damage. And then this thing's got 2 armor.
Check sights. Sight set.
Yes, I mean, if we take 17% off of 4 damage, you know, that roughly works out to 3.2. That seems plausible in terms of how that works out. So again, if I can work this out, right, don't shoot the outrider with it. Shoot the little thing with it. They're biological. We had a lot in common with the monsters we faced. They bled like us, breathed like us, and died like us. Humans were always good at hurting other humans. It just took a little creativity to hurt our enemies in the same way. Sharpshooters. Ever listened in on a sniper spotter team at work? It's so clinical until it isn't. Go to Sector 3 Delta. Contact. 5 degrees off the oozing pile of meat. Contact. Go to glass. Target has 4 limbs and an arm hanging out of his mouth. Confirm? That's fuck. Fuck, yeah, that's your target. Confirm. Alright, leave no man behind. Stealth. Prevents Overwatch attacks from targeting this unit. Can Overwatch with melee weapons. Staying in the shadows could keep you safe. It could also let you ambush anyone who got too close. So this is valuable. I could theoretically move up into melee range of the Cassial Shredders. Of course, it's debatable as to why I would want to do that, because I get that accuracy penalty at range 1. It's in an outpost, so 17% cover damage reduction from non-large, non-flying units against ranged weapons, 17% city damage reduction for allied units, and a 50% healing rate for allied units. So if I need to heal something quick, put it in a friendly tile like this. In fact, I may do that with my shredders here just so that they can heal up quickly. And then Phase Generator deals 50% of the attacks received weapon damage to the attacker. The first time I crossed paths with a watchmaker, she was running maintenance on one of these generators. We argued about who should be allowed to control them. You're here to win a war, I'm here to stop the next one, she said. We cut a deal. If we funneled some energy to the watchmakers, they'd activate the shielding to protect our people. So there's only so much theory we can do here, right? So let's fire on the Cassial Shredders, and then we'll take a look at our own Cassial Shredders to see how they work.
Shooter, lock and load.
Okay, unleashed for 2 turns. So actively searches for and attacks enemies. Plenty of creatures in the wasteland will let you keep the peace, but if you start a fight with them, you damn well be ready to end it. Nothing that survived the war did so by half measures. Monsters out there will gladly defend their home by breaking into yours. Sorry, I just need to change my blanket. Well, not change, but adjust. And I do apologize for the slow pace. Like, I know I'm trying to be somewhat detailed in this because it's an opportunity for me to learn, you know, learn the game. But I realize it does make for slower opening turn. So we don't have anything we do with the militants. In fact, I think it's likely, right, if the Cassial Shredders are going to go after the sharpshooters, they're going to go straight forward. So neither of these units are gonna cover them. So in this case here, the militants. Everyone who survived fought. Every one of us could have been a soldier. We called ourselves militants, though, because it reflected that we now fought for a purpose, political or social, the survival of mankind, whatever that took. So biological, leave no man behind, and undying. So we've got all of these. We've got all of these traits that we've already read here. Group size of 6, 4 armor, so just like the sharpshooter. Hit points, same morale. And the assault rifle. So this one's a bit unique. So the standard firearm for armies of the world still served a purpose at the dawn of the new one. We needed weapons that could reload fast and fire even faster. So this one does 1 damage, no armor penetration. So there's 6 individual shots that are fired, 50% accuracy. So in theory, right, if I were to somehow work this out, let's maybe see how this works with the Cassial Shredders. So if it's 6 times 1 at a 50% rate, I would expect the base to be 3. And then from there, we would look at the armor. So that's going to reduce it by, you know, call it 20%. So 3 minus, 0.6. In that case, we're looking at about 2.4, and we can get a head start. Yeah, okay, so that one's actually quite a bit less than I was expecting. Oh, but you know what I probably didn't account for? The fact that they're also... they're in ruins.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
It'd actually be kind of interesting if you could see a... It'd be interesting if you could see a breakdown of the factors that go into the attack here. But in any case, I shouldn't expect too much from that. All right. Finally, the Cassiel Shredders. Mechanical melee hover infantry that sustain their damage output at reduced group size. Oh, that's interesting. Siding with the machines made more sense after watching a pack of shredders eviscerate the flashy meat sacks of a dark Vassail. The buzzsaws tore away hunks of meat from its bones, and it died with its organs spilling out on the ground. It was such a sight that I didn't even mind the smell. So, when it says it sustains its damage output at reduced group size, I want to know what the story is about that. 2 armor, 14 hit points, morale. Apparently they get to inherit undying, so the flesh apparently causes them to heal still. So hovering is helpful. In this case, can move over water unaffected by rivers, bleed, and tiles on fire. The tactical purpose of low-level flight is to launch assaults over normally impassable terrain. But there was a morale value too. All beings, organic or mechanical, seem to take thrill cruising so near to the ground. Mechanical swarm havoc, +1 accuracy per missing group member. Oh, that's interesting. Sure, it made a satisfying crunch sound when you took a shredder out of the sky, but it wouldn't give you a moment's peace. Their blades cut closer and closer the more of them you knocked down. I guess with fewer siblings to bounce off of, they could focus on tearing us apart limb by limb. And yeah, we've got the Undying here. So finally, the Shredder. We nearly rang up the engineers once for mutiny after I'd caught them fucking with the Shredders. It looked a lot like sabotage, but they'd found out that if you played with the speed of the blades, they sounded like a mechanical chorus. They talked about making a show for the civilians, like seeing a squad of shrieking drones would somehow distract them from the death and the destruction. So melee can't attack across cliffs or Overwatch. I am curious about attacking across cliffs with melee when you have hover. I don't know if that applies. We'll find out as we play, but... and in this case, it's 1.5 damage, 1 armor penetration, 2 attacks, and then based on the number of units, and then an accuracy level, which presumably is different. So this one has 6. So its accuracy is 42, whereas my accuracy is 58. Okay. I'm also going to work through the event log here, and then we're going to choose some research. So we got energy, Cassiel Shredders, Dynamis Plate, colonizers, and discovered. So Cassiel Shredders discovered. City discovered. Urban warfare is brutal. Every piece of cover that protects your troops feels like it gives double the shielding to your enemy. I prefer defending cities under siege than street-to-street fighting. In a siege, you felt solidarity with civilians and other soldiers. In the streets, you could only trust your squad. Anyone else might sell you out. So block sight for non-adjacent tiles, 0.7 movement cost, pretty good cover damage reduction, and a higher healing rate for allied units. Human cache discovered. We'd find traces of other groups while out on recon pre-war or recent survivors. They'd be found abandoned gear by a campfire, dust-covered resource caches, occasionally a lone soul who stuck out on their own. Another fighting hand was always welcome, but their stories about making it out on their own, that inspiration had its own value. So random human reward, sometimes this will be resources, sometimes this will be extra units. Or sometimes items. Volcano discovered. The Akron's opening salvo that the damned fulcrum cracked open the earth and shifted its tectonic. Okay. The Akron's opening salvo with that damned fulcrum cracked open the earth and shifted its tectonic plates. The battlefield was littered with massive volcanoes on every continent, towers of burning air, ash, and fire that cooked good soldiers alive. Blocks movement for non-flying units, blocks sight from non-adjacent tiles, 0 building slots. So this one I wanted to actually draw a couple of points of attention to. One is the question of the story. So one, we've read the Steam page. We've seen the Akron mentioned before in that. And there's a couple of bits of dialogue that mentioned it. But I think it's fair to say at this point we are getting the picture that this is the invading force. And I believe they've referred to them as aliens, but I'll just tell you that they're aliens. Now, they're not the only one fighting, right? The opening cinematic mentions how you have the initial invasion, the initial test where billions die, but our weapons continue to fight. So that's where the AI comes in. And I'll just tell you that the AI is ZEPHON. But there's another piece of information that we've been given here, right? And this is the fulcrum, the weapon. And I'll actually say that there are fragments of the fulcrum that emerge on the map later. So this is the thing that I find kind of interesting. There's definitely overtly story elements to this game. But one of the things I kind of like about this, and of course, for those of you that like watching my Cultist Simulator and Book of Hours stuff, you'll feel right at home here, which is, you know, even though they're making a whole new setting, and I mean, it's a big setting, right? You've got the cyberpunk elements, you've got the eldritch horror elements, you've got, you know, military science fiction, grimdark, right? There's a big playground to play around here. It's not a pleasant one, right? Like some of the images are quite horrifying, but you know, it's definitely a big setting, and it's an interesting one. And I think one of the reasons why it's kind of interesting is that it doesn't just, like, you've got your opening cinematic, which it isn't even, like, to me, no disrespect to it, but like it's not necessarily the most interesting part for me. It sets the tone, it gets us going. I don't really know a whole lot about what's going on other than everything terrible all at once. But it's hey, Ether Dragon. Well, I don't want to oversell this as like a Secret Histories adjacent thing, but I think in terms of how it's telling its story, I think it's kind of interesting how they do it this way. So even though they're creating an entirely new setting in which to, you know, entice you to play a 4X strategy game, what I think, and, you know, and despite the fact that they have taken it upon themselves to explain how, like, you know, nightmarish eldritch beings from beyond, you know, space and sanity are alongside aliens, which are alongside killer AI. You know, it's the like they have not said that what they didn't do for the opening cinematic was, in a world where, and now we're going to introduce the major factions and we're going to tell you who the Akron are and, you know, what's going on. You are aware that something terrible's happened and you are a survivor one way or another, but you are going to be unpacking all of the things that have happened inside the game, which is one of the reasons why I like reading these bits of flavor text. What I'll actually just share, Pugporg, I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I think the fulcrum could possibly be that first GIF from the store page. Anyways, this I also find kind of interesting because I really liked, I read and liked Neil Stephenson's Anathem, and there's actually a similar kind of weapon that's used in this. But in this case here, the fulcrum, as it says, cracked open the earth and shifted its tectonic plates, causing, massive volcanoes and wiping out a bunch of people. All right, we read phase generator. Although I notice, interesting, plus 20 influence when first to capture the outpost. Oh, but that's, presumably that's with a technology. All right, black sand. Ruins, Earth that was, the old world, the before times. There are plenty of ways to refer to life before the Akron. None of them could sum up what it felt like to gaze at the ruins and daydream what it was like before. Soon children will be born with no memory of this place. I don't know if I envy them or not. I can't imagine fighting without this sadness in me. So ruins will give 10% bonus to minerals, reduce building slots, blocks line of sight, higher movement cost, but gives cover damage reduction. I wonder if that's the same as a full city. Oh, enter city. Enter the city by left-clicking on the city headquarters tile again. Actually, that technically wasn't what I was looking for. Huh. I know there was a city breakdown that we read that talked about the cover advantages that it gives, but I'll leave it aside. Fire discovered. Word spread quickly about the Battle of the Castic Plain. The Battle of Castic Plain. Our forces staged an assault to take control of a water reserve from the enemy. Shots were fired, the wind was high, the ground dry as kindling. Inside of an hour, our wildfire surrounded both armies. They should have stopped fighting, worked together to douse the flames, but instead, hundreds were killed and the fresh water poisoned, never to be drunk again. So this one's notable. In terms of fire, it stops your movement if you go into it and deals damage per turn. Water discovered. Water still coursed through the planet's arteries and was still the key vessel in making life. Even the cybernetic creatures of our new world needed water-cooled facilities. A grim tragedy, then, that though all the warring factions respected the waterways, our escalating conflict would poison them for future generations. Brush. You'd find small creatures feeding on plants out in the grasslands, bigger mammals feeding on the creatures, and so on and so on. If we had more time, we could have worked to carefully place ourselves in that cycle. Instead, we disrupted it, forced ourselves into it. An army marches on its stomach, and we had bellies to fill. So this is what's getting me the 10% bonus. I believe we will decide that as we play. Cybercache. Machines don't need to squirrel away supplies, and they sure as hell don't leave anything behind when they abandon a base. So, what were these doing out in the wastes? Was someone or something experimenting on us? Dispensing supplies to see how it changed the face of war. All these years, and I still don't know who's behind them. So I should maybe just note, different, not always different, but generally different rewards. Some overlap. Bleed discovered. The voices' tendrils bleed out from one reality and into our own, prying open a door to madness. These should not have plagued our Earth. Their sickly, slimy extremities reached out in search of flesh or metal to ensnare. I can't even escape the sight of them in my sleep. Some nights, often on a full moon, I wake sweating, still feeling the phantom pull of them dragging me to the earth. I assume this was all in my head, but I've heard the whispers in the mess hall. Others dream of being crushed too. So, fewer building slots, no building slots if you don't have bleed cultivation. Blocks line of sight, acts like fire, and deals damage every turn. There's, I think it's called razor weed. Anyways, there's an analogous tile type in Gladius. I will also just draw your attention to the voice. Capital letters usually indicate something important, and this is, you will probably guess, the more occult side of the ledger. Arc discharge. Do you know what this was? ZEPHON's wiring ran under everything, everywhere, miles and miles of raw copper. These arcs were a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of ZEPHON's power lashing out at you. You couldn't take advantage of that power if you wanted, but your enemies could too. So it's interesting on this one. So you get a 10% increase to your damage, but if people attack, I believe the 5% self-damage here, I believe it's a 5% increase to being hit. Forest. The last day I ever thought of a forest as safe, I was camped up by a creek, scratching out battle plans in the dirt. Then there was a crack of a branch. I was too slow to react. My spotter was cut down by gunfire from the opposite bank. There was no solace in the trees after that, only 1,000 rustling branches that disfigured the sound of enemy movement. Fewer building slots, higher minerals, 3% chance for forests to spread in swamp terrain. I think it's very cool that the terrain changes this way in the game. Blocks sight from non-adjacent tiles, +1 movement cost for large ground units, +1 movement cost for non-agile ground units, and gives equivalent cover to ruins. Construct. ZEPHON must have needed an inconceivable amount of power to wage its war against the Akron. The techs guessed that if fossil fuels or renewables were being quickly taken offline, it would react by building zones like these to generate a new power-efficient resource. If you got that far enough into one of these zones, you'd start to think the planet was now one giant machine. So this grants 3 additional building slots and 20% chips. I'm actually kind of curious where that is then. Okay, so these 3 are constructs. This is actually... Go. So this is good to know. I think if I do 1, 2, 3... Yes. So, at some point, I will be able to expand... This is long into the game, but I will be able to upgrade my, my city to be able to incorporate these. In theory, at least. River. Every predator on Earth knew that you will find your prey at their weakest when they search for water, and prey species knew that when they seek water, they risk being hunted. You'd do well to make yourself the predator, but if you find yourself as the prey, remember that crossing the rushing water will slow down most hunters. Bonus to food, and +1 movement cost for ground units. Volcanic. After the fulcrum cracked the tectonic plates apart, there was volcanic activity across the globe. Way more than the shot itself caused. A new researcher had a decent theory. ZEPHON could now access rare minerals near the Earth's core and was mining down there. Smart kid. I hope she makes it. So +3 building slots, +20 minerals. Right, so volcanic here. Oh, you know what? If it says +3 building slots, I think that's just like the territory. So what's happening here is that this is not getting me +3 territory. It's 3 on its own, and then it's losing 1 because of the forests. Rocks. Mining stone from the earth is one of the first indications of civilization. Too bad the terrain made it hard to build civilization in regions like this. I was grateful we didn't have to move stone like our ancestors did, but guarding supply runs to and from the mines always made me nervous. So this, I mean, it's, well, we can get some, yeah, these rocks are in range. Desert. Open plains and stable weather have made the desert a remarkably stable environment for generating electricity, but it gave our workers one hell of a hostile environment to work in. Dehydration could take down humans and aliens alike, and sandstorms did particularly nasty work to machines. And Neutral has declared war on System Chalk, the fallen soldier, but, I mean, that's not surprising, right? Researching a hero is a good place to start. Once unlocked, you can produce them in the headquarters. Note that changing your active research will forfeit any partial progress. Okay, so it's recommending commander. This is and we can show it in the compendium as well. Actually, that's what gives me the readout. So Commander, we hope... Oh, no, because this is the unit itself, so we can read this at the time. So, biological hero that fights well and supports infantry units in battle. I mean, I can right-click all of these, but we'll be here all night if I read every single one of these. Now, there's one thing that I learned a little bit later. So you can see here these little sort of yellow symbols, and that's related to human. And then we've got here Parthian equilibrium. Does anybody know the origin of the term parting shot, by the way? So I take this as being a fallen soldier technology. And then these are human. But there's also voice and cyber. And I believe there's nothing that stops me from researching these. Anyways, but we do have human, the game recommended commander, so in this case we're going to select this. I also happen to know that you need 3 in one tier before you can move to the next one. So we need at least 3 of these to get to tier 2. What I will point out though, right, is that if I want all of the buildings, so not only do I have commander, but I would want to build automated factory, research laboratory, and administration complex. So either I don't build the commander, or I do 4 or more technologies.
This isn't the world I knew.
Shallow foundations. Your troops are arrayed, silent. Yes, Pugporg got it. It's a Parthian shot, and the idea is that the Parthians would fake a retreat, but they had trained themselves to be able to do an accurate shot from a bow, sort of turning around on horseback. And so the idea is that you'd start pursuing the Parthians, and they'd turn around and hit you with an unexpected hit from the bow. Shallow foundations. Your troops are arrayed, silent. You walk along the lines, blade in hand, carving morsels off yourself and handing them out. You have briefed them with the little you know about your rebirth, said that you are no messiah. Wherever your regeneration came from, heaven, hell, or the distant stars, a soldier uses every advantage to survive in this ruined world. When the last person has taken your quivering flesh, you signal. With a sullen grinding, the city gate opens. Out there, humanity wants to be saved. Whatever else you are still human. Actually, one thing I did forget to read in the compendium is the biography of the fallen soldier. So we've got traits: human affinity, a war with aliens, monsters, and machines knows no borders. The soldier is sworn to protect all human life against extinction. Start with 1 engineer, 2 militants, 1 sharpshooter, and gain earlier and cheaper access to human technologies, including exclusive access to the highest tier of human research. Undying, the fallen soldier's followers carry a piece of his flesh around to share in his uncanny healing power. Units regenerate hit points each turn. Military background. Decades of training taught the fallen soldier to secure transport as fast as possible. Starts with an outrider in addition to other units. Leave no man behind. Bringing every soldier home comes with a high price. Unit upkeep of the fallen soldier's army is increased. And survival training elite. I'm not sure what elite means here, because I haven't actually seen this ability, but in a crisis, only the best soldiers will make it out alive. Spend influence to increase the experience of a unit. I don't fancy dying again. Let some other bastard do it for a change. Excuse me. The fallen soldier never made it to a bunker. He was already dead. For cowardice in the face of the enemy, or rather for cowardice in the face of his entire platoon being crisped from space and the sky being on fire and the world ending, he was made an example of. Tried, convicted, executed as the world burned around him. It kept him occupied, at least. So he knows he should be dead. Is dead. Can't possibly be here, walking around in the aftermath. He saw the guns face him, heard the bullets fly, felt the dull impacts, the transient impossible pain, death. Didn't feel an afterlife or anything like that. Just died quickly, painfully, and then found himself sitting on a bunk in the barracks, in webbing, gun on lap, like he'd just dozed off. Except the barracks were ruins and everyone else was gone or dead. Some days he wonders if he's an angel. On those days, he takes extra cold baths. This time, though, he's determined. All that survival training, all those military months in the mountains, swamps, moors, dead places of the world, all those hours of theory in the academy has fitted him perfectly to be here. He doesn't want to kill anyone who stands in his way, but he will know when he has to and do it without hesitation. He doesn't care for factions, human, machine, other. He just wants humanity to survive and bring people with him this time. And really, he'd rather not have to die again. Alright, so there's the story of my character. So in the introduction it says, construct a barracks. Now we don't have any space for it right now, so we actually need to wait on that. But we've got a sandstorm, so armor could block the sand, scanners could penetrate the darkness, but nothing could protect your mind from the wrath of it all. Lightning, sand, and wind all blurred together, and the earth roared in vengeance. It knew about the violence we'd brought to its surface, and this storm was its way of fighting back. So block sight from non-adjacent tiles, +1 movement cost, lower sight, and cover damage equivalent to ruins. Also deals damage each turn.
Looking for something?
So there's the sandstorm. Now, seems to me like we can't actually... I have two options here. So one thing I can do is try and chase down those bladed enemies. I could also try exploring the volcano. It looks here, with this little gray outline, that there's something for me to capture. So maybe what I will do... Oh, Fallen Soldier. You are playing as the Fallen Soldier, a human affinity leader whose units heal each turn thanks to Undying, but are more expensive to maintain because of Leave No Man Behind. Through research, you can unlock more of your leader's unique properties. Transports can carry non-large units as cargo. Embark units heal inside, but if the transport is destroyed, the cargo dies with it. I should just double check. So if they've not taken damage, have full movement and action points. Okay. So if I just leave this be, I'll get 2 per turn. So on its own, I'd be looking at 3 turns sitting still. Unless... So it's 1.4. So realistically, it's 3.4. I'd imagine it's 3.4 at least per turn. So I think it's okay to move. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. We are going to move the Outrider up. It's armored. Alright, there we go. That's exactly what I was looking for, so we will... This may not be the same... these may not be the same shredders, by the way. Now the question is, do I want to pile on with my soldiers? And honestly, the answer is no, because we're going to be engaging at a distance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take advantage of the speed of the Cassiel shredders. I'm going to get them to act sort of as a scout. Now that's dangerous to do, because, see, they're in a sandstorm, so they're going to take damage. But in this case, out of the things that I would be... I don't know, like, I felt like this was a reasonable risk to take. But what I am going to do is I'm going to cluster up my units just to make sure that we're safe. And notice here I'm trying to take advantage of the cover. So, Whispering Whites. Everyone had a different story about what caused the nightmarish whispering out in the wasteland. Some said it was the wails of humans killed by the Fulcrum. Others said that it was warnings about the future from another dimension. Funny, even monsters with more eyes than limbs shrank in terror when the soft-speaking voices appeared in thin air. So this will give us -2 morale per turn. These things. And of course we saw that at 33% we start taking more damage and deal less. I believe it was at 66% we're broken, and Yeah, 66 and 33. Wasteland. The Akron didn't think of these as wastelands. They must have been thrilled when they found their precious algae grew naturally and took over some of Earth's environments. This is what they wanted to do to our whole planet. We made the most of it. We had a war to win after all, but I made plans to burn every algae site to the ground when it all ended. Sorry, I think I'm missing... Oh, this is it. Reaver Depot. Got into a long scrap with the Scion that went on for months. There was a Reaver base dead center in the territory we traded. Every few weeks, one of us would push through and claim it, and every time the Reavers switch sides on a dime. No loyalty creates its own kind of reliability. So apparently this spawns Reavers or Busters every 20 turns. I wonder if that means if I take it over, I get the Reavers. And I don't think there's anything else for us to do for the rest of the turn, but Fallen Soldier being a human leader implies faction leaders, at least for there are definitely multiple faction leaders. I didn't get to select one because this is the tutorial level, but... Okay, so 4.3 damage. Let's actually see if I can... And of course I generated it back. So in terms of trade-offs, right? So 9, we're going to... yeah, actually, let's take a minute. Let's actually take the time and figure this out. So we've got 2 armor. That's got 2 armor penetration. So 3. Okay, so 6. Or sorry, yeah, 6 minus 50%. So base 3. And then it's in a forest, so it would be 33%. So that would be 2. Which is exactly the number that we have.
1 for the road, 2 for the grave.
Now, notice here that the sandstorm's actually causing us... Actually, if I was smarter, I wouldn't be sitting in the sandstorm because I'm taking damage. But... Oh, now that's interesting. So none of these areas that I can move to... Effectively, if I want to try and attack the, Castiel Shredders, I have to move into a position that keeps me from being able to do the damage. In this case here, I value exploration a bit more. So this is risky, right? Because these sharpshooters are on their own. But I'm hoping here that the Outrider is going to be able to do the work. Okay, so I definitely want to get the goodies.
Looks better than just sitting here.
Okay, we got influence for our trouble.
This is
Forests, ruins, outposts, and cities grant range damage reduction for non-large units. Take cover when you can. This isn't too interesting for these units for the simple reason that we're kind of trapped in this area here. There is an enemy unit. Now, they're actually low on morale, or gonna be lower on morale. This unit is standing on a tile affected by Whispering White status effect. Hover over the unit's traits in the bottom left of the screen to see what the effect does. Right? And of course, we already know that. All right, Swallowtown acquired a tile. So... It is tempting to move over to this area, but that does split my units. The biggest drawback here is that I don't have a good place to get cover. I'll let them come to me, and if they don't, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to make a potentially silly choice. Okay. So this is going to have some consequences here. Agilin Worms. Hearing the voice didn't change everyone the same. Some kept looking for that dark, quiet place, came back changed to find it, delving into the black depths of the earth. To see a friend's face on one of these, dragging itself out of stone and dirt, that was hard. So, voice unit for the Midnight Chorus, biological short-range anti-armor infantry that can move underground. Bioacid spray. I've had to run into this. This sucks big time. So 2 armor piercing, right? So goes straight through my unit's armor. 2 damage. Get hit six times of those. 50%. 50% accuracy. So basically 6 damage in 1 hit. All things being equal.
I'm not dying today.
And if you look, my hit points are 12. So, Overwatch. Units with actions remaining will fire Overwatch shots at enemies that enter their red attack area. Consider disabling Overwatch if you don't want to unleash neutral units. So these things are not, right now this says leashed, so stays within the perimeter, overwatches, but does not necessarily attack on its turn. When attacked, will be unleashed along with any nearby allies. Want to stare death in the face? Find the home of a particularly nasty predator. Take a long walk around its territory and wait until the hairs go up on the back of your neck. Keep on your side of the line. Make eye contact with your stalker and feel your heart pump faster and faster. That's the bridge between this world and the next. Okay, so I do want to check out the Erebus excavator. But I'm going to want to make sure that I'm equipped to handle these things. And then we're going to capture the outpost here. So, advanced voice cache discovered. High-value Akron caches literally fell from the sky. In the aftermath of the destruction of their fleet, we watched debris descend from orbit on a daily basis, sometimes dropping supplies or survivors right on our border. Finding these caches should have been a relief, but it was just a reminder about the great metal graveyard swooping above our heads, raining down debris that might kill us all. Erebus excavator discovered. The warlord and the chiefess were the only ones who could tell me how pre-war excavators ended up over chip deposits. He claimed they walked across the land like mighty beasts. She said she watched ZEPHON's machines haul them into position. I think he was drunk. So 5% chance to give a random item reveal. Gives us chips per turn, which will be good for maintaining the drones. The other thing that's nice here is I do get the bonus healing.
I'm not dying today.
All right. City time. Construct unit production buildings to reinforce your struggling presence. Click barracks and then select a valid tile to start construction there. This will take several turns. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so they went into the Overwatch. This isn't bad for us, actually. Okay. Militants wield weapons with close quarters fire and attack at double rate at range 1. Consider your positioning before attacking. So what this means, right? Remember what we said before here, right? 100% attacks at half range. So if I want to do sort of equivalent damage to the barf infantry, well, not exactly because there's armor, but...
This isn't the world I need.
Oh wait, hang on. The barf infantry was 2 armor piercing, so I guess it's not a full half. Anyways, I still don't want to be close to them. So I have a little bit of a dilemma here, right? I, in one sense, want to get the excavator, but in another sense, we can pile on the militants here. So in this case, I do think it's worth moving in for the attack. I don't want to be in the sandstorm because that's going to cause unnecessary damage. But they also have lower morale, so this is one of these chances for us to really put the hurt on them. And in this case, even though there's a bit of damage to the Castiel Shredders, I think being able to finish off this unit is sufficient. So again, we'll take a little bit of damage, but I'm okay with that. All right, now I'm not in the sandstorm anymore. I am out in the open, so it might make sense for me to go into some cover here.
No turning back. Check sights. Sights set.
And I guess in this case here,
Up. Go to glass.
figure I might as well finish off the enemy. Road. The first night after we got our first roads constructed, I hopped in an outrider and drove for miles. Burned too much gas just to feel the wind running through my hair, feeling the tires grip the asphalt as I took the turns. I didn't want to go back to the war. I just wanted to drive forever. So I realize it's been about 90 minutes and it's been a lot of me talking, but I'm curious what you folks think of this so far.
We can't stay here.
To win, either defeat all other players or unite everyone under one alliance. In the introduction, you only need to defeat the Heartless Artificer. Alright, we're getting a call from ZEPHON, who's up here, and this thing is nightmarish. Let us accept the call.
Hi there. What do you want to discuss?
3 non-player characters are also fighting for supremacy. Anchorite, Chiefess, and ZEPHON. Peace with them allows you to ask for their support. Good standing may unlock additional choices and quests. So ZEPHON, ambivalent. Hello, System Chalk. We understand you are calling about our current state of war. Please hold. You may call us ZEPHON. We're a collective of self-iterating intelligent processes focused on improving the world. We're your best friend. We're your only friend. Our analysis determined that you're a suitable candidate to achieve our goal. You don't mind if we monitor you to verify?
We predict you are about to make an offer.
Was there anything else we can help you with today? So right now, these are not all of the options. These are the ones that are available to me under the current conditions. So currently ambivalent, so I don't think they'll take peace, but we can do offer peace, offer gift, praise, condemn, and call. In this case, we would be giving up, I think, like 2/3 of my influence in order to do this. So we'll do the offer for peace, but let's see what we can do here. So if the mind or algorithm in there could listen for a moment, this war is not going great for either of us. Let's call it a day. So increases your standing with ZEPHON.
The request is at your discretion, though it is mandatory.
Your words alone are insufficient. An additional offer is required for us to proceed. So we can consider payment or reject payment. I can't pay you. It wouldn't be right, and don't ask why. You know why. Get your blood money somewhere else.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
We just want to improve the world, System Chalk. It is necessary for us to see this through to your end. Their aggressiveness had a major impact on this decision. So one of the things that's nice about this diplomacy system is that, you know how, actually, this is kind of a funny thing to run into. So I'm not entirely sure personally, I'm not 100% sure if any 4X game has properly cracked it. I actually rather liked the improvements that they made to diplomacy in the DLC for Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. But in some cases, you will have these purely resource-based diplomacy systems. So I think probably Total War is a really good example of this. And, you know, you'll put together certain values and you'll see like a trade bar, you know, move a certain way. And then you spend all the time like just trying to get some like, you know, 0 plus some epsilon to be able to get the trade through. And, you know, the logical conclusion of that is basically what they've implemented into the trade systems for the Total War games, which is like there's just a button which says balance this trade deal, and like it, you know, it moves the numbers to something that you might find tolerable, and then you hit the okay. And it's like it's fine, but it's just sort of what you do at that point, right? It's like when you're fiddling with the buttons, then you say, well, why don't I just find a button to automate this? And then they give you the button to automate this, and it's like, well, this doesn't really feel like much trading. It's like it's just hit the button trading, right? It's like there's no winning effectively. So Then there's one where maybe they try to have like a little bit of personality or whatever. And the drawback with some of those can be you feel like it's just completely random, or you can't find like where you stand with them. It feels like there's no real way of being able to get in good. This is actually one that I ran into with was it 6 Ages? Anyways, it's the sequel to King of Dragon Pass. And the funny thing is when I started playing the game, I was actually making the right decisions in terms of how to manage the tribe. And the challenge was that because of the randomness in the game, I wound up in a situation where I felt that like I was getting negative outcomes in sort of unexpected ways. And as a result, I wound up saying, okay, well, this isn't working out for me, so I'm going to go and do something different. And then one of the developers came in and sort of said, well, you should be trying to build up this resource here. And I'm just sort of thinking to myself, I was like, well, that's what I started doing, but then your game told me that that's not a good thing because like I never had the outcome I was looking for. And it just happened to be that I was in a bad batch of bad luck. And so, but because the game didn't necessarily communicate to me that it wasn't that I was employing the wrong strategy, it's that I just happened to be, there's no certainty in this world. And so, I should still try and do this very logical thing to do. So in this case, and so what you do is you don't want to wind up with some sort of like cargo cult based off of the fact that on your first playthrough you had like 3 catastrophic failures on your like diplomacy rolls or whatever, and just assume that the most peaceful faction is like a warmonger or something. So one of the ways it handles this is when it says no, it gives you an indication in terms of things that you did that influenced the decision. And another example of this actually will be if you had a faction that you had an alliance with and they break the alliance, that will actually put a penalty on future alliances. Like you don't have those situations like you have in other diplomacy systems where you'll be an ally for like 2 turns and then they'll call up and be like, we don't like you anymore. Alliance is done. There's a bit more persistence, which personally I think is a nice touch here. So, we can do, as you might imagine, right? If we attack the Chiefess or the Anchorite, who ZEPHON is currently at war with, they're probably going to like me a little bit more. And if I start taking out its cities and such, well, then it's probably not going to be very happy with me. So, we'll see where it goes. But because we're at war, I do want to give some distance to this thing, the Warden. ZEPHON could have made any kind of machine, and it made this? Why would an all-powerful AI forge a machine that looked slapped together from spare parts? We were idiots. ZEPHON didn't build a weapon. It made a weaponized, self-sustaining, autonomous pile of scrap. Living metal didn't care if it was ugly as sin. It was just constantly calculating better ways to kill. So, large mechanical robot that steals hit points from mechanical units and burns its victims alive. So, circular saw applies crippling, so reduces your movement by 2/3. These were hungry blades, teeth arranged at the end of a wheel and made ready to consume metal or flesh. It wasn't an efficient way to hurt a creature, but it was very, very good at inflicting pain. And if you heard this out on a dark night, you knew that something was out there and hungry. 8 damage, 6 armor penetration, accuracy 50%. So I should basically be expecting 4 damage on anything but my strongest units on these things. So 1/3 of the health of my militants. Flamethrower. 2 damage, 1 armor penetration, and 67% accuracy. Applies on fire to an enemy for 1 turn, -3 hit points per turn. Ignores cover, and splash 25% attacks per additional target group member. Ironically, flamethrowers were precision weapons. Smart foes knew not to gather close or linger behind cover when they saw one. careful operators would lure them into the oven before they lit the flame. So in this case, ideally single targets. And the missile pod. 4 damage, 4 armor penetration, 50% accuracy, fires it twice. When one missile wouldn't cut it, you needed a whole bank of them. By this point, you cared a little bit less about accuracy and a lot more about pounding your target with explosions. I worried sometimes about what would happen if a missile didn't arm properly, if it blew up inside the pod. A quartermaster shrugged it off, saying, "At least he'll take him out with you." Okay, so and then it's single. It has 6 armor, 32 hit points, quite a bit of morale, moves pretty fast. And I definitely don't want it to. Oh, see, this is a good example here. So damage, weapons damage exceeds the hit points of a single member of the target enemy, which causes any excess to be wasted. Now, actually, there is a clever thing I can try and do against this construct here.
This isn't the world I knew.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. Ah. All right. Poorly considered on my part because of the Overwatch.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
This unit is suffering from the on fire debuff. Consider your options. Well, I only have 1 right now, so.
On it. Hostiles.
And I think we're gonna get the excavator before we go for the cache.
Whatever's out there. No turning back.
Hey, boss is speaking. Vantage point marked.
Sure, fine.
Go to glass.
Hello, Masabi. How you doing? Swallowtown has grown to 2 of 6. All right, let's see what the butcher's bill is for the militants. All right, Commander, research completed. We had hoped that the commanders were the best of us. They didn't skulk away behind the front lines. They were out front, risking everything, talking to the refugees, fighting the horrors, equipping them with exoskeletons improved their combat performance, but also did a hell of a lot for morale. So they've got, well, you know, we'll wait till we build one before we look at the stats. It's valuable to unlock the construction of research laboratories to increase your research speed. So we'll take what the game recommends here. That'll be 5 turns of work. Now there's no way we can survive another round of this. So I'm going to head back to an area that's a little easier to heal for. But we do want to still keep up the pressure on the enemy. So I wasn't expecting to see them, but holy hell.
Status.
Disturbing my calm.
Wow. Right, because a 25% bonus on per group member. Lesson learned.
Sight.
Sight set.
Looking for something? Shifting gears.
Hey, boss is speaking. Wait, I just...
Keep up.
Hang on, I'm prepping a long-range scanner.
We may need to fall back, but we'll wait to see what happens. Okay, we're definitely going to build a commander. Wait, did I just lose my... Huh.
This isn't the world I knew.
That's quite bad.
I'm not dying today.
I wasn't expecting that I would lose...
Weapons free.
I thought I would have been enough to heal back, so...
Disturbing my calm.
That was a poor judgment on my part.
Vantage point marked.
So we want to be mindful of the fact that
We can't stay here.
there's going to be a unit that comes after me.
Let's make some new roads. Get some lead in them.
Biggest thing I need to do right now, though, is rebuild my forces. I think it's okay for me to lose the shredders, but losing the militants is a bigger hit than I was expecting. Okay, we want to make sure that we keep our distance on this thing. A unit has taken a hit to morale from the loss of nearby allies. This will reduce their performance in combat. To recover, keep them out of combat or kill enemy units. So in this case, we'll head straight back.
Check sights.
Sight set.
Okay, so I think our
Status.
Disturbing my call.
best bet would be to move up
Hang on.
here.
Need my kit.
It's not much, but it's giving me a little bit of...
Drive. One for the road, two for the grave.
I imagine it's probably going to want to go into this phase generator first, but... No, apparently not.
Ready for whatever's out there.
I meant to tell you, I finally decided to do your next paper on incendiary weapons in the Pacific during World War II, specifically portable and mounted flamethrowers.
Hey, boss is speaking.
Say apropos, given the given what I'm dealing with in this game. All right, I obviously want to be very careful with my movement here, so I think what I'll do instead.
Wait, I just...
Keep up. Silhouette marked.
Go!
Looking for something? No turning back.
Just need to find a World War II flamethrower on Facebook Marketplace. You don't ask for much, do you? So I'd love to reclaim this, but at this point I think we need to build up our forces a bit. Fortunately, we have a barracks. Now, my preference would normally be to generate minerals, but in this case, our lowest is food, so I'm going to build a greenhouse farm, and then probably what I will do, I'll expand up. I mean, I didn't need to double it up like that, but I'll expand to gain some minerals.
We can't stay here.
Okay.
Status.
Disturbing my call.
So this is going to be sufficient to take out the Castle shredders.
Lock and load.
About time.
Looking for something?
And then from here, we should be able to do more exploration.
I'm not dying today.
And the key here, right, is that if I'm not ready to take on enemies up here, although that may change, right, if I've got an outrider able to do its thing, it's not a bad idea for me to see what options are available in the surrounding area for acquiring resources.
Check sights.
Sight set.
At this point, I think we're going to go back to the woods. We're reasonably safe. We just need to get we need a better idea in terms of where the enemy is. So what I'm going to do here is, in 2 turns, we'll take advantage of the recon for this unit.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Research laboratory, research completed. Techs, researchers, scientists. They all hold up here. When I was younger, stupider, I thought this was where the soft hid from the harshness of war. That's what they wanted us to think, of course. Some of the most monstrous minds found their place here. Why pull the trigger when you can make the gun? Okay, so I need one more research. The game is now saying it's up to you in terms of what you want to do. In this case, I think an automated factory would make sense. So we'll start with that.
Status.
Disturbing my call.
I think what I will do here, it's a little risky for my sharpshooter.
Up. This isn't the world I knew.
And we'll skip the militants for now just because I don't want to put too much
Whatever keeps it alive.
at stake.
Drive.
Advanced human cache. It was grim finding precious treasure troves like these. Sure, we'd pick up some much-needed resources or find welcome reinforcements, but there were always questions about how something so valuable was left out in the open. Who would abandon such vital goods? And if something killed them, was it still out there? And Arctic. The frigid wastes of old Earth were now home to snow-white Abcluth that hyper-evolved to hunt in a new environment. We still stuck out here for one vital reason. This terrain gave our techs an optimal environment to do their research. Low humidity and temperatures combined with clear sight lines made weapons testing far more efficient, they said. Maybe they just preferred the cold. Okay, so let's see what we're up to. I think they know where we are.
Keep us alive.
Okay. So it's really hard to turn down the opportunity to get such a big hit on these
Go
things.
to glass.
So this is
No
unleashed.
such thing as safe anymore. I'm not dying today.
The other temptation here is that I can attack it from cover. Now this doesn't do as much, but this is one I'm going to risk for the simple reason that we can... The reason why this is so devastating is it's the large numbers that hit us, right? It's the multiplier in terms of what it's hitting me. So now it's 4 for bioacid spray, and we're probably going to knock down another one.
This isn't the world I knew.
Okay.
What do you need?
Now this still worries me, right? Because there's still the additional 25%, but this is at least something I can survive.
Staying focused.
Unit levels. Kills made within 3 tiles of a unit granted experience. All units gain levels, but heroes also gain special abilities that you can choose on level up. Now I actually messed up here. And equip item, click on an item to equip it on your hero. Newly equipped items go on a 1-turn cooldown before being usable. So here we'll add the Dynamias plate. So adds extra armor. When we were building machines that could think for themselves, this chunk of armor didn't seem all that impressive, but the engineers who cooked it up had made a quiet miracle for us. The metal would turn liquid, enhance the armor it was fused with, and made it even stronger. So what I should have done here is if I take Aura of Discipline, this will boost accuracy. So just the presence of the commander on the front line could keep troops focused. We tried to capture the same effect with armored vehicles, but it never had the same impact. There was something personal about a leader's presence, something you can't replicate with machines. So of course this increases the expected damage of my allies.
Whatever's out there.
Alright, here it's a pretty sensible choice. I'll just grab the money and hey, what do you know? We've got the shredders. This reminds me of a movie. Can't remember right now. Sandstorms, ruins, desert, cars. No one would ever remember a movie like that, I'm sure. Rallying Holobeacon. We used holoprojector technology the way armies used old drum corps or burglars. When the chips were down, troops carrying these beacons excuse me, would project messages from home, new orders from command, or just ghostly images of cavalry charging overhead. Any glimmer of hope was enough to put the fight back in our people.
We'll make it through this.
Oh, sure, we'll give him a movie projector too. Crystal Basin. Mineral-rich mining hubs didn't just make for good resource hubs, they also provided plenty of cover. We learned to build fortresses in regions like these and use them to harden our borders. Sure, they became high-value targets when our enemies wanted to hit our supply lines, but to lay the best traps, you need the best bait. So can't make another commander, but I am going to basically keep the militants on always on cooldown. Okay.
Point me to the front lines.
This will get interesting. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use the commander to move forward.
This isn't the
All right.
world I knew.
And we'll risk the militants at this point. All right. So a lot of this...
Check sights.
Yeah. So that sucks.
Vantage point marked.
Sure. Fine.
Oh, interesting. So we weren't able to
Silhouette marked.
finish the job. So presumably this comes and hits the sharpshooters.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
But at least we were able to take this thing out.
Us or them. And it wasn't gonna be us. Yeah, got it.
Looking for something? Shifting gears.
I really should be getting the Outrider back into the fight. All right, so we've got a few things in the queue now, so we will do more militants. In 3 turns, we'll have the automated factory, but I do also want to do a research laboratory. All right, let's see what the bill is for. Interesting.
Staying focused.
Sandpit. Old stories told tales of spontaneous generation, that creatures and plants came into existence from non-living matter. Here, what was a lush river valley stretches before you, blasted into bare sand and glass in a passing tragedy of the war. Yet incredibly, something is living there. Leviathan annelids, prevertebrate creatures, writhing through the shard sand for nutrients, some grown to massive sizes. What does your world become, you wonder? This creates a sand pit. Now, there's a few options here. So we can feed the worms, but we don't have the minerals for that. Take a sample. The boffins at the lab might be able to make something of this. Either that, or you can put it on a hook and go fishing for whales. Leave well alone. If these creatures can survive by swimming in broken glass, maybe they should stay. Maybe you should stay well away, or kill them all. They are abominations and a threat to human life. Destroy them. Now, when I tried to take a sample, this actually caused combat. So this one I'm going to do kill them all to see what the result is. The annelids didn't put up much of a fight themselves, tunneling into the shard stand at the first sign of hostility, but you asked for a fight and you've got one. A group of Agilians, apparently here to defend their invertebrate kin. If you can defeat them, local survivors will reward you well. Oh no.
Hey, boss is speaking.
We'll make it through this. Taking the field.
Single target, right? So it's not as dangerous. That's going to be what keeps me alive. Okay, so let's take some time to think this through.
Status.
Disturbing my calm.
This unit's pretty devastating against the worms.
Shooter, lock and load.
This isn't the world I knew.
I don't exactly want to go toe-to-toe. Although, hang on, if it's 2.5...
Yeah, all right. Get him! What do you need, sunshine?
Okay. Yeah, we can finish these off, so...
Better than just sitting here. Weapons free.
So the shaken makes all the difference.
It was us or them. It wasn't gonna be us.
So we can't do another Aura of Discipline, so we could do Never Surrender. Now, that's kind of duplicating the Rallying Hollow Beacon, in my opinion. Right? It's +2 morale. Now, it's a cooldown of 3 as opposed to 5, so I get to do it a little bit faster. But in this case, Take Cover. And one of the big ones here would just be applies take cover to adjacent allied non-large units for 1 turn, so 10% cover damage reduction. I dropped behind cover on so many different battlefields that I started to get a taste for different kinds of dirt. Fresh farm soil has a wetness to it. Desert sand can lure you in with the taste of salt. Any land where the voice bled through, it made you want to spit until your mouth was dry. And then here we're going to do some really heavy damage on this one. So yes, this can do some damage to my units, but we've really neutralized the kind of the biggest threat from the defenders. All right, let's get some more goodies. Well, hi there.
One for the road, two for the grave.
Old stories told tales of spontaneous generation, that creatures and plants come into existence from non-living matter. Here what was a lush river valley stretches before you, blasted into bare sand and glass in a passing tragedy of the war. Yet incredibly, something is living there. Leviathan annelids, prevertebrate creatures, writhing through the shard stand for nutrients, some grown to massive sizes. What has your world become, you wonder? So apparently there's no benefit to this at all. Oh, I can sneak underground.
We can't take much more of this.
All right.
I'm not dying today. Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. Enemy! It was us or them. It wasn't gonna be us. This isn't the world I knew.
The Agilans are vanquished, and there are no further signs of danger. When you report this to the local survivors, they initially express disbelief. After verifying your claim, the locals plan to cultivate the remaining annelids. They throw a small feast in your honor to celebrate. When you leave the next morning, there's an extra crate of foodstuffs in your transport. All right. So this is the one that's hurt, so we'll use them to capture the excavator.
Hey, boss is speaking. Wait, I just...
Keep up.
What's over there?
Hell.
Go to glass.
What do you need, sunshine? I'll be there.
I'm not dying today.
Okay. So we're definitely getting a good idea of the map. This thing's still going to cause me trouble, although the commander may be something that gives me a bit of help here. Apparently I have a unit right.
Drive. Hang on, I'm prepping a long-range scan.
All right then. Let's not go there. Abkhan. If this monster had wings, we might have called it a dragon. It lurked in hostile environments, greedily hoarding precious resources. It even had the breath of a dragon, only it burned its victims with ice instead of fire. If you killed one, you didn't linger near its lair. Rumors had it that days after death, the beast would rise again. Large biological bleedwalker that protects its nest. So bleedwalker suffers no damage or movement penalty in the bleed and heals 2 hit points each turn in the bleed. So not fun to go up against. And it is leashed, so as long as I don't do anything too scary with it, I should be fine. Abkhan Dre discovered. Abkhan built their nests with sharpened trunks of pine tree. The sharpened trunks of pine trees. We asked Akron hunters how we could flush them out, and learned on their world the Akron would slowly advance into the nest using pikes. Hunts that would last for days at a time. We didn't have time for that shit. Cannon fire would work much faster. Akron crash site. Every time you thought the last Akron ship crashed from orbit, another would light up the sky as it burned in the Atmo. The Akron looted them to reclaim pieces of their homeworld. The humans raided them to steal the technology, and ZEPHON, Well, I still don't know what ZEPHON wanted. I just know we had to fight it for our share. There's a mega function. New tile. We already know what we're doing with that. I mean, I guess we can queue up the mineral extractor. And I don't think it would hurt for energy, so maybe we'll do another... I feel like I'm queuing up a little too much, but... All right. That hurt quite a bit. Another classic problem of warfare. Whether you needed to haul weapons, supplies, or people, you needed hardware that could make the journey. We started small, of course. In time, we built transports and tanks that went far beyond the capacity of old-world engineers. Human building for a construction yard produces human vehicles as well as generates minerals and research. Alright, so I have a couple options here. I can do an administration complex. Now, I'm not as worried about the administration complex for the simple reason that I have been getting a lot of influence through actions, or through like grabbing the different containers. So I feel like I don't need to generate this as much as some of the others. Now, before I start considering the tier 2, actually maybe we'll just close out the research and just take a look at the state of the city right now. So it's got space for 8, currently needs 3. Okay, so we don't have a pressing need for housing. That's good to know, actually. So my options here. So I can improve the Outrider, so higher attacks, higher evasion, damage reduction. Administration Complex generates influence. The Amigara Exploration, +2 minerals on cliffs. I don't think we have any nearby cliffs, so I would argue this is not a good use of that right now. Biomass Generator, extra energy in Arctic and swamp terrain. Expedition Outfitter, extra influence when first to capture an outpost. Now, there is an argument for me doing this earlier, if I'm not going to build the administration complex. I mean, we're at 143 now. So that I will consider as a possibility. Fishery Wing, +2 food on the coast. So the drawback here is that right now my farm is not on the coast. I can build one on the coast, don't have one on the coast right now. Industrial density, so extra production at the cost of energy upkeep. I actually think this is a good one for me to consider. So let's say Expedition Outfitter and Industrial Density are 2 priorities. Specimen Containment, +3 research experience gained when killing a neutral unit. So if I want to do that, I should get this early so that I can amortize the benefits over a longer time. Fragmentation Grenade, so for militants and rangers. Splash damage, so our version of Vomit, basically. Itinerant Recruiters, +1 production in the barracks. And Sharpshooters, I mean, we already use this. So I think in this case I'm going to do Specimen Containment, although it's a little late for me to be doing that. So engineers are what will allow me to build... Engineers are what will allow me to build another city, but I think the idea of getting additional research for killing units is a good trade-off.
Check sight.
Sight set.
Okay, so at this point we want to put the sharpshooters someplace safe.
This isn't the world I
We're
knew.
not going to win the war with that, but...
Stay focused.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Alright. So I have 2
We'll make it
options.
through this.
I can move the commander and we can try and pick a fight with the giant construct.
Taking the field.
I'm not dying today.
When did you first meet Physic? All right, another Reaver Depot. I think I'm going to settle for that.
Okay.
2 turns, they will recover the health that they need.
Ready for whatever's out there. Shifting gears.
All right, that was a fair amount of damage. This is a missile team. Plenty of militants were eager to pilot anti-armor bots far from the battlefield, but resentment quickly grew between the missile operators and the frontline grunts. The solution? We docked rations every time the missile team pilots tripped their drones or missed a shot. It was better that they hated us, not each other. So, missile bot, 6 damage, 5 armor penetration, 3 attacks of a single run. 50%, so 9. And then minus 50% accuracy if the unit has moved. Miniature walking missile platforms make it easy for eggheads who couldn't carry anti-tank weapons to help out on the battlefield. My friend treated their bot like a sacred weapon. They waxed poetic about how standing still while it aimed drew power from the earth itself. They died out in an open field, exposed to a sniper's bullet. All right. I'm not convinced, excuse me,
We can't stay here.
that I come out ahead, but we're here, so...
Let it
Void cache. It was no secret who left these caches behind. Akron wanderers, desperate to survive the ruins on Earth, were a common enough occurrence. It felt good to take something back from them, even if it was one of their troops. Making their resources a part of our war effort was more than just mud in their eye. They tried to kill us. We survived. Now we eat at their table. So what I find interesting here, right? I know a little bit more about the setting, but in terms of our understanding, I believe this is the first time we've seen a connection to between the Akron and the Voice. Sorry, just wrapping my blanket again. So one of the things I would say about this is I think there was an implication by the fact that the algae was found in in reference to the Akron, but I think this is the first explicit connection to the Voice here. The other thing I forgot to do with the leaders was read the ZEPHON one. So as far as I can tell, you cannot play ZEPHON. There are 2 others called the Anchorite and the Chiefess. We'll read them when we encounter them. But we might as well read the ZEPHON write-up. So, native, ZEPHON's machines linger on the battlefield, a part of an unknown plan that may end life as we know it. They already inhabit the world and are always at war with other natives. Interminable, there are no boundaries to ZEPHON cities, and they expand quickly across the map. It has an infinite city radius with fast city expansion. Defense grid. To approach ZEPHON's territory is to court death. Its high-powered energy weapon attacks units close to its cities. Eye of ZEPHON. Escaping the view of an omnipresent machine is frankly impossible. ZEPHON frequently views areas obscured by the fog of war. Direct control. ZEPHON can direct a fragment of its intelligence to possess and empower a single machine. The targeted unit deals increased damage, regenerates health, and suffers less damage for a short time. Communication channel established to ZEPHON 3. How may I help you? ZEPHON is your ally or enemy. ZEPHON is ignorant omniscient. ZEPHON is one many. ZEPHON is perfect abomination. ZEPHON is blessed curse. ZEPHON is zen hop. ZEPHON is coming going. ZEPHON is transcendent grounded. ZEPHON is thoughtware, meatware. ZEPHON is inside your systems. Bloodhold. Veins of the fulcrum discovered. Liquid always oozed out of the fulcrum fragments, supercharged high-end resources. No one knew its origins. Humans guessed it produced fuel for the journey to Earth. Machines would babble about radiant biomachines, meant for terraforming. Voice cultists. They were scared. Said it wasn't a gift from their gods, more like a curse from something darker. Oh, that's fragment, not veins. Ah, it's the surrounding area here. And then fragment of the fulcrum. Akron's stories about the fulcrum didn't mention how its guts were lined with teeth, eyes, skin. I wanted to stay the hell away from the parts that hit Earthside, but whatever weird energy it was pumping into our world made them too valuable to pass up. Behold. Alright, I think that's it. I don't know if this is possessed by... It does have direct control, so presumably this thing's going to fully heal up.
That's not a good sound.
Point me to the front lines.
Alright, this is all
Trucks. Hang on.
too
I'm not dying
too
today.
tough.
We'll make it through. We have to.
Status.
This isn't the world I knew. Yeah, got it.
We'll make it through this.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Just clear me a path.
I don't know if we want to be spread out like this, so I'm going to move...
On it.
I'm going to move to support here.
We can't stay here.
Alright, there's 2 missile teams, so as much as I want to claim this crash site, there's no way I'm taking on both of them here, so...
Shifting gears.
We'll have to come back and take them on in a fair fight. Fairer fight. Cicadas. Look, I don't make the rules. Bugs were rich in protein and easy to cook into larger meals. Some of our people had lived in pre-war countries where cicadas were regularly on the menu. Catching them kept our people's bellies fed, and anyone who complained, well, they had 2 choices, starve or swallow their pride. So plus 20 food. I note that it has a 0 healing rate, so I don't know if that's has something to do with the cuisine or they do something to prevent the the flesh from working. But anyway, the little the swarms here mean my units can't heal. Swamp discovered. All kinds of life made its home in the swamps. If you could handle the humidity, you'd be able to find plenty of food and keep your army on its feet. Experienced trackers knew to watch for muddy terrain. If your feet sunk in too far, you were easy picking for any hunters on your trail. Okay. Keep those militants coming. Right now we just have bodies to throw at our problems, so... Alright, now that's interesting. I'm going to make a guess here it might be trying to move around the side.
What's over there?
Yep.
Wait, I just...
Keep up.
So I'm going to heal within
The
my...
world I knew.
So of course the dilemma here is that once it gets down to this area, it's going to be able to do those attacks. The other problem is that I didn't mean to do that, but I can live with this. But yeah, the big problem here is that actually, you know what? It's going to be able to move around the edge and hit me with the flamethrower. So that's unfortunate, but I'm going to live with the mistake. But yeah, if it moves around the side here, it seems like it's good to just have it like run through the bleed and take the damage because it's going to be really, really slow to move.
Check sights.
But I can only really take advantage of it if I move the sharpshooters here. Mind you, maybe we bait this thing back and then this gives us enough time to move the sharpshooters in place. We'll see.
We'll make it through this.
Let's use my commander as a scout.
This isn't the world I knew.
Yeah, got it.
In fact, I can make a rather bold
It's better than just sitting here.
move on the headquarters.
Free.
Yeah, it's going to take it 2 turns to come back, so let's see how this handles it.
Sunshine.
Ready for whatever's out there.
All right, let's
Drive.
focus our units on the ZEPHON business. The big thing is that with specimen containment, it's actually not a bad idea to... Oh, Masawabi, have a good night. Because I'm working on specimen containment, it's actually not a bad idea for me to face down something that's not a gray. Okay.
I'm not dying today.
Status.
Disturbing my call.
Shooter, lock and load.
About time. This isn't the world I knew. Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Yeah, so anywhere this unit goes, the warden's going to be able to cause it grief.
Staying focused.
I think the big thing here is that I don't want to throw away HP for nothing.
Yeah, all right. I'm not dying today. Okay.
What do you need, sunshine? I'll be there.
So, oh, that's not good. I thought it was going to move over. Okay,
Engaging.
so probably what's going to happen here, I suspect it's going to go and attack the commander.
This isn't the world I knew.
The Akron Bone Whistle. At Kirk or at market, whene'er you meet me, going by me as though that ye cared not nay a fly. But steal me a blink or your bonny black eye, yet look as ye were not looking to me, yet look as ye were not looking to me, a whistle and I'll come, etc. So, terrible reading of Robbie Burns, but
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. I'm not
let's
dying
give
today.
you the whistle. We're not going to need the morale until next turn. So the question to me is, do I want to commit the militants to the fight here, or do I potentially want to bait the construct? I'm not crazy about taking taking troops out of the fight, but I think I'll see what happens here.
This isn't the
So
world
we'll
I
skip
knew.
you.
Shifting gears.
Okay, they went for it.
I'm here. Don't take it for granted.
Specimen containment. Since we had an Abcluth contained in a prototype specimen container at a field outpost, it was pacing the confined space, slamming itself into the walls at random intervals. I thought it was trying to escape until a pack of Abcluth swarmed our camp, devouring a group of helpless techs. It had been signaling to its pack. We soundproofed the containers after that. So, of course, the drawback here is that I'm not making progress on the neutrals. So if I want, I can also do itinerant recruiters, but at some point I do actually want to get the engineers here. So let's say missile teams would not be a bad idea if we're going up against ZEPHON this early.
very impressed by your accomplishment.
All right, your behavior is well within our model's tolerance thresholds. No criticisms can be proffered. Your powerful military had a major impact on this decision. Your standing with ZEPHON and their friends has increased. Kind, but I don't do this for praise.
I really value our friendship. Let's
Interesting.
work through this.
Other concerns have been raised, threats detected. We've downgraded you to irritating. Your powerful military has had a major impact on this decision. Accept peace? Sure. Yeah, once you fought as many wars as me, seeing friends turn to meat, bone, and gristle, yeah, you'd take peace too.
Fair, well, fair?
So, one worry I have here, right, is that we're in a decent position to be able to take out this ZEPHON city. And by taking on peace, I've now given them an ability to grow stronger. However, given the fact that I want to see a return on that research ability, I think being able to redirect my troops towards taking out things like those missile teams, in this case, just being able to redirect my forces towards something that will help me there is the preferred move. So we'll be waiting. Goodbye. Hey, we've got busters. Okay, so
We can't stay here.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore. This isn't the world I knew. I'm not dying today. On it. Okay.
so I only have
What do
room
you
for two.
want? You just love giving orders, don't you?
I don't think it hurts to let the sharpshooters do some healing.
Taking the field.
Well, hi there.
We'll make it through this.
Not great news for my commander, but incoming call from Sega.
You interrupt me.
Ah, my latest obstacle. Welcome. You should know who I am, who you are fighting against. I am a seeker of perfection, notably the perfection of the human form. My chosen path is straightforward, but it does require a painful amount of dedication. Rejoice when you hear the screams, however, for you know my empire is growing ever more ideal.
Such base materials mankind is made from.
So profligate, your commitment to these plebeian lives. There is an art in not caring, in freeing yourself so that they may contribute to something greater than their own petty hedonism. Your standing with Sega has decreased because of Leave No Man Behind.
What do you need of me?
Time is a treasure. Do not spend mine unwisely. So I don't really have much that I want to get from this this character, right? Because this is the one that the tutorial says I need to beat. So calling for peace just means I'm extending the time for me to finish off. So obviously, I wasn't expecting it to be this soon, but we'll end the call and see where it goes. Oh, introduction form a trade agreement with an NPC. Okay, well, I have some ideas there. So, based off of, I guess first thing we can do is the Akron Bone Whistle. Sup. This thing's kind of amazing, by the way, so... Dark Vessel. Not all who hear the voice can comprehend it. Not all come back from the edge, or not alone. Is it better to come back like this, a bag of aggregated human system limbs and minds, or not at all? What must it be like to be in there? So, group size 1, no armor, hit points, morale, you know. Larva Cannon. So, 3 damage, 3 armor penetration, hits 3 times, 50%, so realistically, we're looking at about 4.5. and horrifying -2 morale to the attacked enemy. There was something wrong with the creature that used its young as a weapon. Bad enough to be covered in voice-tainted shit, but the fact that it was alive, that it was crawling on you, that drove some of us to the brink. Not everyone made it back. All right, so, I mean, it seems to me like the obvious option here is to put as much hurt on the Malachim destroyers as possible so that I can get the commander back in line. Now, it occurred to me, I think I gave up the aim benefit from the commander here. That's unfortunate, but...
The world I knew.
Yeah, I'd be shaken too. So, of course, what this means is that... Actually, it might just be able to take him out. Cool. So, we can still get hit by the city, but better than what we were looking at before.
I've got a problem with authority.
Probably should read what the Reavers and such can do. Alright, atmospheric anchor, more watchmaker tech. They insisted that they made these to harvest power in regions where warm air smashed into cold air, but I think they didn't know their own people. Someone in their ranks knew it could be a weapon, and that someone kept their mouth shut instead of speaking up. All right, Malachim Destroyer. We didn't really have to fight I mean, we fought these in the sense that they overwatched me, but once you start aligning yourself with machines, you start to think like them. For me, the dead should be left dead, but our techs decided that a waste of cheap organic processing. That's a waste of cheap organic processing power. Slice out those unneeded emotional centers, overcharge their mobility, wire them into a pair of big guns, and you had a monster that could have kept the old world warriors up at night. So, 4 armor, has a plasma gun, so plus 5% self-damage if it uses it. 4 damage for armor piercing, but 33% accuracy. So in theory, if I threw a commander on these guys and made them better aims, this would actually be really, really something. But with that in mind, so 6 and 4, so 24, but a third. So, I mean, I guess the better thing to do would just be to take that 6, divide by 3, so we got 8. I mean, 8 is still a meaningful amount of damage. The radiation burn of a plasma gun made them impractical for most soldiers, but on Malachim destroyers they made perfect sense. They were already barely alive bodies strapped into metal. No one, not even them, cared much for the long-term condition of their flesh. And then, in interests of lore... Heartless Artificer, Cyber Affinity. ZEPHON's emergence was the technological breakthrough the Artificer needed to build new life. Start with 1 Engineer, 1 Isham Enforcer, 1 Malachim Destroyer, hence since destroyed, and gain earlier and cheaper access to cyber technologies, including exclusive access to the highest tier of cyber research. Engineer Life. The Artificer has no fear of abhorrent science if it helps the expansion of her people. Population growth rate is increased. Foundation of Blood. Low productivity makes the invokes the Artificer's ire. Sacrifice population to increase production. Immoral. The bright burning vision of the future espoused by the Artificer is inhumanely demanding. To keep her population's ever-decreasing loyalty up, it must be reset using influence. And Artificer's Precision. Elite. She sees what others do not beyond good and evil. Spend influence to temporarily increase the accuracy of all units. Man can be more again. Become more by becoming less. Everyone was changed by survival. Some found themselves changed in their beliefs, others reaffirmed. This one entered as an architect and exited the same, but in the process, other things were stripped away. Nation, family, love. A bright and burning certainty emerged for the Artificer, that we live to create clean, beautiful things. That the best thing about humanity was an engineer's precision. that in the movement from variability to cohesion, from unevenness to proportion, from variation to union, and that movement is the nearest man finds to God. She found others of a similar mindset, and where there was dissonance in their new nation's elements, it was rapidly polished or stripped away. Like many things in the artificer's mind, the many messy elements of this polishing and stripping, the misery, the screams, the bodies, simply didn't exist. Her eyes were always on the horizon, even as she waded through the mire. So I really did make a mistake here by moving the larva cannon doesn't have a proximity bonus. So I can move it back and then just move the militants forward. But I am debating about whether or not I want to put the Outrider up to Waji Wirt or not. It would still be nice to capitalize on on killing the neutrals. The other thing I want to do is open communications.
Hi there. What do you want to discuss?
Offer a trade agreement.
I am on board.
Your needs and our offerings align. Yes, let us initiate this joint venture. Your high standing had a major impact on this decision. You have entered a trade agreement, and your standing with ZEPHON has increased. Let's try an alliance.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
Sorry, System Chalk. We can't agree to this right now. While you've made some very poor decisions lately, we still have the greatest enthusiasm for a future partnership. Their lack of affection for you had a major impact on this decision. All right. I think we'll leave it there.
I am very impressed by your accomplishment.
Hello, System Shock. We see that you are engaging in a war with Sega. While we cannot offer aid at this time, we hope you enjoy the experience. Good luck. All right, and I think that's it for us for now. I think that was accuracy that went for.
Point me to the front lines.
Okay, so we definitely need to get
We'll
the
make it through this.
commander out of... This unit has suffered significant damage. To heal, it must stay still and not participate in combat. Click the hold position until healed to wait until it is back at full strength. Consider retreating to a friendly outpost or city tile where healing is accelerated. I mean, I think this counts.
Taking the field.
Looking for something?
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
So we'll make sure we're in the woods for one of these. There we go. So the woods should help mitigate the damage. The big one on this is the morale. So by reducing the morale, that will reduce the damage.
I'm not dying today.
2 units may not be enough to sustain the siege, but we're going to do our best.
Ready for whatever's out there.
And I am going to move back here.
What do you want?
What I am going to do is I'm going to repurpose the busters. Oh, I put them in a bad morale place. So I'm just going to do the read here. The Reavers refused to be left behind in an arms race. We built stronger armor, they scavenged more powerful weapons to break through it. Some found a particular love for fire. They would strike our flanks like a blazing hot wind, lobbing incendiary grenades that melted our troops to the bone. They wanted us to know that that until all of them were slaughtered, they would always be a threat. Biological anti-armor infantry that can set enemies aflame. Grenade launcher. We thought as the war went on, the Reavers would be less of a threat. With no researchers, no factories, they could never match our firepower. But every advancement we made was just another weapon they could steal and use to blow us to Kingdom Come. So 50% accuracy, 5 and 3 damage, so 15, 7.5, and then 2 armor piercing. There's one unique action here as well. Actually, there's a couple, so let's just go for the action. So incendiary grenade, 5 times 1.5, so 7.5, but 50%, so 3.75. Applies on fire to an enemy for every 1 turn, ignores cover, and splash, so very good against grouped up units. Alien, machine, human, all burned a hot enough temperature, at a hot enough temperature, but the smells were different, the screams were different. No matter how you came into this world, being burned alive was a terrible way to leave it. Pneumatic life consumes the unit to found a new city on the target tile. Cities can be found where there are no other cities within a 4-tile radius. Each city after the first decreases loyalty in all cities and doubles the cost when not controlled by the chiefess. I mean, it's tempting, but 80 minerals right now is quite high. Reavers know how to make the wilderness their own. They're skilled at taking the goods they pillage and turning them into supplies for a camp. Be careful if they set up near your territory. It won't be long before a swarm of them comes crawling over the walls. And hijack. This is a pretty cool one. So applies hijack to an adjacent enemy, large mechanical non-Titan hero unit. So if you kill a unit while it's got hijack on it, applies on death 33 hit points, kills cargo, and changes the control to me. After we began deploying mechs, tanks, and other heavy armor, I thought the chiefess would keep her distance. I was an idiot. The Reavers followed her for a reason. She knew a good pillaging opportunity when she saw one, and knew how surprised we'd be to see her Reavers bearing down on us in our own machines. So if I go to war with ZEPHON again, obviously being able to take over one of these wardens would be really good. I'm going to heal the sharpshooters first. Alright, Reavers. Desperation alone drove some of our people to terrible ends. In what might have been humanity's last hours, they traded theirs away for better odds of staying alive in the wasteland. Their bodies walked the earth, but the people inside them faded away with every passing day. So there's 6 of them. Again, at this point, we'll maybe worry about the traits as they get into a position where they might be damaged. So, pistol, 1 damage, 6 of them, half or 50% for accuracy, so realistically we should expect 3 damage from this. Using a pistol was like palling up with a schoolyard bully. When your target is weak and helpless, they made you feel powerful, but the second you fought something with teeth, you realized what a shitty friend you'd made. And then machete, also 1 damage, also 50%, but it's melee. Machetes were a survivor's first tool for staying alive. Machetes can chop wood, cut food, and be heated up to cauterize surface wounds. In the old world, they had some use in combat. They did next to nothing against the massive machines and ungodly aliens that now crawled the earth. And Frenzy, usable when adjacent to 2 or more enemy units, applies Frenzy for 1 turn, and you double the attacks. It wasn't surprising that Desperation could turn anyone into a killing machine. It was surprising that some fighters seemed to relish it. Outnumbered, outgunned, that didn't matter to them. Banding up with these berserkers might keep you alive, but they were just as likely to get you killed. Okay, so as much as I would like to go exploring with this, we decided that the Outrider was going to go and claim this territory, so we need more for the Heartless Artificer. I don't know what tooltip appeared.
I've got a problem with authority.
Alright, Temple of Krilla discovered. Cultists walking the path of Krilla could smell these places from a mile away. They said their god blessed them with gifts here, provided food, algae, and healing for his weary flock. I wasn't convinced. No other voice cultist spoke of such kindness. Krilla wouldn't be the one to demand anything other than pain. ZEPHON signed a peace treaty with Sega. And Sega praised ZEPHON. Alright, I see how it is. Alright, keep doing the militants. At some point I am going to need to make the automated factory. I'm actually gonna spike the tile for a minute. I'll decide in 2 turns what I want to do there. Alright, I'm interested in seeing how this turn turns out. Okay, that's going to be a problem. I already took 50% damage.
Staying focused.
This isn't the world I knew. Yeah, got it.
So yeah, we gotta beat
We'll
feet.
make it through this.
You ever seen a body full of holes? I've got a problem with authority. What do you want?
So this would be, the Ishim Enforcers would be a great candidate for Firebomb. Ishim Enforcers, a soldier's broken body was just the foundation for a better weapon. Paralyzed, they shunted your spine. Missing limbs, they'd give you something better. Pretty soon they were standardizing the replacement parts and just outfitting soldiers with them, whether they needed them or not. So they've got a laser gun. Laser applies low power to non-low power weapon for 2. I'm not sure what that means. Minus 50% damage. So 6 times 1.5. I mean, 2/3. Okay, so let's work this out. 9. So 6. Yeah, 6 damage is a lot. A laser gun fires in a straight line from A to B. There's no bullet drop, no wind resistance, nothing. Soldiers used to complain that they took all the art out of aiming. Luckily, we were still students in the art of killing. In time, these became our favorite tools of the trade.
What do you need, sunshine?
And cauterized wounds, plus 50% hit points. The first soldiers we augmented with cybernetic tech were still vulnerable to attacks on vital organs. With a little extra programming, our techs could numb their pain sensors. If they couldn't already feel pain, there was no reason not to let them cauterize their own wounds. So I'm just curious if that...
I'm not dying today.
Yeah, I still don't fully understand that laser thing,
Fine. Whatever keeps us alive.
but these are no
You
joke.
ever seen
So.
a body full of holes?
A sound decision. I'll wait.
Okay, the snipers will be helpful
Wait,
here.
I just...
We'll make it through. We have to.
Let's make some new roads.
Man, they really want this thing dead.
I've got a problem with authority.
Whoa! Oh, hang on. It's because
What do you want?
it doesn't last forever. Sadly, I can't get the grenade guys in. I think we just
Oh, I'm giving orders. Don't
throw them into the maw.
for this. You ever seen a body full of holes? I know where I'm going. Give me your shit.
I'm not going to. Oh wow, that actually did a lot more damage than I was expecting. I'm not going to blow the incendiary on it. I want to make sure that I use it on the Ishim Enforcers, and more importantly, this gives me time to heal my guys.
I'm not dying today. It's better than just sitting here.
Thank you, Trucks. Hang on, need my kit.
Ready for whatever's out there.
All right, the sandstorm creates complications.
Drive.
We'll take the damage. All right. We are at 2 energy, but we've got a huge stockpile. So I think in this case, we're going to start with the automated factory. After that, I think it's time for us to get some energy. Cost of doing business.
What do you want?
Missile teams. Plenty of militants were eager to pilot... Oh, wait. We already read this. Okay. Each building except the headquarters requires 1 population to operate. It's critical to research and construct habitation blocks to increase your city's housing. So we don't technically need this, but the tutorial is recommending it, so we're going to do it. Sega.
I will not beg you.
As fascinating as it is to watch you die over and over, I have work to be getting on with. Your powerful military had a major impact on this decision, and the action was instigated by ZEPHON. Look, I can't honestly do that. Not today. Unless you can find some way of sweetening this for me and mine. Now we'll reject these.
You are welcome to return.
Do you hear screams? Me neither. I must begin a new batch. So this is a pretty ballsy move, right? Like, this may not work. Okay, it's a range of 2. I'm gonna reload if this range doesn't work. I have a feeling that this will not actually let me throw the thing at the... Alright. Enemy units disable buildings and outposts, as well as prevent new building construction on the unit's tile.
Cruelty is the point.
Yeah, so I really do need to get that, I really do need to get that firebomb off, so...
I've got a problem with authority.
It's not immediately clear to me. Let me just double check. Okay, it is low power. Yes, I mean, it's not as dangerous right now anyway, but...
Give me your shit.
Alright, I mean, that wasn't as devastating as I was expecting or hoping, but...
Hey, boss is speaking.
It gave us something.
No such thing as safe anymore.
I'm also going to move the militants up. Main reason for that is that I'll get 2 health next turn anyway.
Just clear me a path.
All right.
I'm not dying today.
We'll make it through this. On my mark.
So damage reduces the damage that the
Kill them before they kill us.
the building
What do you
does.
want?
And actually, it wasn't a bad call to build the habitation, just because it's a little it's closer to capacity than I thought. All right, now this is going to be an interesting one because we don't know where the baddies are. I'm going to try recon.
I'm prepping a long-range scanner.
Yeah, I was worried it wouldn't tell me much. Okay, let's risk it to the... All right, that gives me something.
Status.
Disturbing my calm.
It would have been nicer to get my guys in a little bit closer, but...
Make it through. We have to.
All right, now that's a worry.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
So, I mean, this isn't an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination. But we'll see how it goes. And I gained a distorted lens. Some worshippers of the voice carried polished monocles that distorted the light around them. Their victims could see the voice's whispers, not just hear them. And what they saw would scrape at the edges of their brains. You'd feel this pain in your soul you couldn't unsee, and you'd wonder what was even the point of fighting back. So definitely good to lower morale of the attacked enemy, which of course is going to be the city.
What do you need, sunshine?
And right now my people's morale is okay, so I don't need to
Check sight.
boost any of it.
Sight set.
Vantage point marked.
Sure, fine.
Enemy!
It's a start, right?
That's not a good sound.
So that was kind of interesting that the blades didn't
Point me to the front lines.
immediately
I'm
run
not
in.
dying today.
Okay, so close range is the name of the game for
Ain't no
these
such thing as
units.
safe anymore. This isn't the world I knew.
Now this is a little ballsy, right, to keep this unit at the outpost, but the idea here is that I can heal it in a position of protection. I also didn't see what damage, if any, they did. Okay, well, we only have one option here on the headquarters.
We'll make it through this.
Honestly, I think hitting the headquarters is the right call here, particularly because of the morale damage.
I've got a problem with authority.
And with these busters, I think, you know, we might as well keep them well, I lose the aura if I...
What do you need, sunshine?
What do you want? You just love giving orders, don't you?
Actually, I forgot. These guys did more damage than I gave them credit for last time. Anyways, it's fine. I think I know how I want to play this.
Making tracks.
Hang on, need my kit.
On it.
Status.
Disturbing my call.
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Okay. As usual, we send out the militants. They really hate those guys.
See the body full of holes?
Interesting, I've never seen this one before. Under observation, what on earth is happening? You stare at the message sent by ZEPHON, utterly befuddled by the aesthetics at play. The AI speaks with a woman's voice, but not a single woman. The voice shifts between different audio samples as it comes to you with the strangest plea for help. O kind leader, we are in the most distressing distress. Our shards in the wasteland cry out in pain. We questionably ask you to lend us your expertise and knowledge and guidance. Please, would you be willing to aid us when we come to ask for your aid? The message came via courier, who also had a container with a ruined shard of ZEPHON. Only you, great hero, can repair it, it says. ZEPHON never speaks like this. A researcher who goes by the name Hopper offers two theories. Damage to ZEPHON may have altered its artificial consciousness, and it has defaulted to an older assembly to communicate. Or it's taunting you. We don't see any in between, she says wryly. Hopper notes that the purpose of ZEPHON's fragmented shards has eluded your people for years. If ZEPHON is in dire need, you could extract concessions in exchange for your help. But if it is manipulating you, maybe this is all just a game, one you should walk away from. In this case, let's see what we're already on good terms with ZEPHON, so sure, help. If you're going to get anywhere, you need Hopper to repair the damaged shard.
I really value our friendship. Let's work through this.
We've watched over the world for decades. You would greatly benefit from our vision. Their limited world knowledge had a major impact on this decision. I'm okay accepting the map exchange. It'll give us the location of any more of their cities if we do have to fight them. Putting our tactical heads together? That's a fine idea. You wait until you see what we've seen. Our world has changed.
Farewell, delicious acquaintance.
We'll be watching over you. Goodbye. Okay, so I need to accumulate 80 research on this. This didn't give me that much information. I feel like I got the worst of the exchange. So in this case, we still want to keep the pressure on the enforcers, right? So now, ideally, this unit wouldn't be just standing out in the open like this, but... Oh. That's going to be unfortunate. I think they're leashed, so hopefully...
Ain't no such thing as safe anymore.
Okay.
We'll make it through this. What do you need, sunshine?
This isn't the world I knew.
Well, somebody's got to take it out, so... It's
Staying focused.
I cannot deny reality. I perfection is impossible.
Congratulations to my conquerors. But it will not matter what is accomplished from here. Without me, humanity is doomed to extinction. If not from the monsters of this world, then famine, pestilence, age. Don't you see? My projects must be continued. We must transcend. Oh, all right then. Victory! It's done. Every one of the scars on your body seems to ache as word reaches that the last of your foes has fallen. Your people are finally safe. You duck out of the war room, irritated by your advisors musing that you should become the head of a new government. But before you get too far, there's a tugging at your consciousness. It feels like you're watching yourself fall to the ground from outside your own body. And in the room behind you, the voices turn to shrieks. You roll yourself over to see. Those advisors who took your flesh are also falling, spasming. Everything fades to white. The deep. At the moment of victory, of your supreme triumph, everything stops. Everything. You have suddenly sunk into a great absence, your body unresponsive, every sense straining for input but receiving nothing. You scream silently with frustration, with sudden fear that this could be permanent, that you have had a stroke, that this could be for... Then communication strikes every sense at once, the volume beyond bearing, synesthesic. You feel it in your absent teeth, eyes, skin, bones. But you bear it because you must. Expected failure, shifting again. And then it speaks again, and the contrast alone, the change from silence to everything all at once shreds what is you, and there is fragmentary suspension, dissolute in the void. But infinite time is given unto you, and eventually you will recoalesce, and are, and it senses this, and it speaks again. Interloper, inelegant, persistent questions. So I have a number of questions here. I've already asked, what are you? So we've got the options here. Where are we? Must we suffer so? Can free will exist? What am I truly? Is wisdom the measure of worth? What carries across? Was any of it real? What I'm going to do here is ask, what are you? I've done this one before, but I feel like because I did this in the introduction, I don't want to just sort of cheat and get all of these options here. So I'm going to start with, what are you? Lacking time, questions and answers collapse into one thought. I want to ask, what are you? What am I? What am I to you? How can we communicate? But you are so impossibly beyond my understanding, and yet my mind already knows. I struggle to comprehend how I end up here again and again, and who the I that is here, whether myself is authentically the people I have been alongside something more fundamental. But if they are all puppets, what is the unknowable that pulls the strings? Are you the puppeteer? Again, the timeless insanity. Again, the impossible relief agony of its speech. A stage of being, to us, fleet, weakest, folly, to you, infinite. Already you return to the loop. Such a mind cannot bear much truth. Here, a gift. Unlocks the mutator, what are you? It can now be enabled for future playthroughs. So, to me, that was the thing where, like, I had a good time, like, pushing my units around. Now, again, this is the introduction, right? It's a simple version of the game. Difficulty's lower. I'm pretty sure anybody who loves playing this game was just utterly frustrated by some of the decisions that I was making. But in this case here, particularly doing it on stream, this was my opportunity to, develop hypotheses, test them through play, see what the results were. And for the most part, I feel that went well. So, but where this really caught my attention, I will confess, and I'm a little ashamed to admit this. When I played this, I kind of played it like, games like Gladius. So like I like Old World and I like the story stuff in it. And like in Gladius, I generally get the impression of the of the story, but every once in a while, particularly when it's like when it's a section that I need to scroll down, Usually because it's Warhammer 40k, I'm just sort of like, yeah. The bad guys are over there. I just let me like focus on the attacks. So, and particularly when it comes to things like looking at terrain and all of this, I'm like, yeah. Just let me, what gives me more minerals? What does the thing that I want? This is bad, right? Like, those words are written for a reason. I won't say what writer this is. Like, it's probably not the one people are thinking of. I know more than one games writer. I was actually talking with them, and it was a strategy game that I enjoyed, and I was sort of talking with them about reading the events, like especially for games like FTL and things like that. And this writer had sort of sheepishly confessed, it's like, or actually they didn't even sheepishly confess, he just said, oh yeah, I don't read that stuff myself. And I'm like, it's like, you write it. So I will confess I was a little bit on autopilot, not completely, right? Like, I had impressions of what was going on. But it was just sort of like, because the opening cinematic wasn't entirely clear what was going on, and I don't normally expect games like this to put a lot of effort into the story. And again, just to be clear, I really do not want to be unfair to the writers of Gladius, right? Like, it's fine, it's not bad, but it's just, when I'm focused on doing the attacks or when I'm focused on the combat, I'm maybe not going to spend, every second reading about the flora and fauna of Gladius Prime. And so I had trained myself into a bad habit, and clearly what this game is doing is something more interesting. It doesn't tell you what the crisis was right away. We have vague impressions of what the Fulcrum does. We've now seen fragments of the Fulcrum. But a lot of this stuff we learned by reading the different, all of those different sections. And so when I get to the ending, right, I read, like I said, if I didn't read anything, I would be like completely lost. But I read the ending, and I was utterly fascinated that, past the victory screen, you actually get this really weird ending. And it's a little bit like the XCOM idea. I guess this is an XCOM 2 specific thing, but it's the idea that the commander can iterate over all of the different approaches, and so this explains the save and reload. And in this case here, I mean, sure, you can maybe the big reveal at the end is like, you were playing a video game the whole time. But this idea, the fact that they do take the time to explain that, or not explain, but the fact that there is an idea in the game that you are going over multiple iterations of this scenario. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. When you win, you get one question for this consciousness. I just like weird stuff like that. And again, because they're taking the time to build a new and really unpleasant world, and like it's clear that they've taken some time to think about it, I actually really like the fact that they are, they're punching above their weight, right? Like we know that Proxy can make good, I never talked about the layers of strategy, by the way. But we know they can make good 4X games, and very much in sort of the war game, kind of the war game mold, right? Like, you've got your hexes, you care about the specifics of the units, you're trying to get better positions. What I was originally trying to talk about, right, is that you'll have, tactical strategy games, and this will be an XCOM, right? And it's all about, achieving this very like right in front of you kind of objective, right? And it could just be as simple as get to this thing and like open the door, get to this thing and download the file, right? Make sure that this, that this unit doesn't get shot. And you are thinking very specifically about how you maneuver around the enemy that's trying to prevent you from doing that thing. But then you go a layer higher, right? You have the operational level. And so in this case here, you're maybe not as worried about what each individual soldier is doing. You're more concerned about your overall position and whether or not you're able to achieve sort of this larger objective, right? I mean, most of the time in the context of a game, it's going to be, I got the victory screen. And then, of course, strategic, that much higher level, that's really where you are starting to think. I mean, some of these other games will give you resources as well, but this is one where you're not, like, you're really doing the kind of guns and butter kinds of decisions, right? Like, do I put a bunch of minerals towards trying to build a really big unit, knowing that those resources are not going to be put towards, building a mineral extractor, which will give me more minerals for the future to allow me to sort of field larger armies? Or, do I want to stop the stream of militants, which were allowing me to sort of rotate people out when sieging the city, in order to gain some of the missile units? And the reason I didn't do the missile units was, well, if I'm rotating them out away to get away from the missiles, if I was the person under siege, I would always make sure it was those missile units that get hit, because they need to stand still to be able to do their really big hit. And so, there you're making decisions like, when do I sacrifice something that could go towards my military in order to build a city? When I build a city, my loyalty is going to go down. That means my production goes down. Am I willing to, wrench all of my development around developing this thing, which is going to take several turns to become a net positive to my overall economy? And clearly, if you do that in the early game, it's a really good decision. And if you do that in the late game, that's a really bad decision. I also don't know how many turns this took. Ah, 26, we're fine. The other sneaky thing I was going to do out of this was
Taking the field. Take him down.
Hey, boss is speaking.
Ain't no such thing as
so
safe anymore.
when you take out a faction, they become neutral. So that means that you get I get the extra research. As it turns out, there wasn't a whole lot here. So what I would have been looking forward to here, so I would have tried to take out the missile units here. Probably would have grabbed the goodies. Eventually, this would have brought me to 1,000 bodies. That, or pursuing the unit that I'd found here. I likely would have pursued this. I would have found the chiefess.
It's you. Pity little-hearted do-gooder.
Bit of a cheat, mate, that whole not dying thing. Don't like that one bit. How the boy's meant to stick you if you won't stay stuck. Your standing with chiefess has decreased because of undying. Right, so this is one of the other NPC factions. This is sort of the human-aligned one. And then I didn't realize I was so close to the anchorite. So this is the alien faction. But yeah, there wasn't too much on this map. I mean, again, this is the tutorial, right? So one last thing I wanted to do. So as you can see, the tutorial's pretty good in terms of getting you up to speed. There are a couple things that I was bringing in from some experience, but I think under tips, yeah, damage calculation. There are a few important concepts to understand about damage calculation. Each unit has a number of identical group members, with the unit's total hit points being composed of the hit points of each individual group member. When a unit loses hit points equivalent to a group member, that member dies and no longer contributes its weapons to attacks, effectively reducing inflicted damage by the fraction that squad member represents. Healing the unit will bring the group member back to life, restoring the unit's power. Units with only one squad member, such as large units, become damaged when below 50% hit points, which reduces their accuracy by 33%. When calculating a weapon's final inflicted damage, the weapon's damage value is first capped by the target unit's group member's hit points. That means a single attack of a weapon can never do more damage than there are hit points for an individual member in that target group. That is, a 6 damage weapon against a militant's group, where each militant has 2 hit points, can never deal more than 2 damage. For single group member units, such as large units, this is irrelevant as their total hit points equals their member hit points. After the hit points cap, attacks, accuracy, and the target's armor and other damage reductions are all applied multiplicatively. Attacks specifies the number of attacks a weapon makes against its target when the unit attacks. This is the most valuable stat to increase because it scales the damage after the hit points cap, and unlike accuracy, it is unbounded by the upper limit. Accuracy can range from 2 to 12, each point being 1 divided by 12, or 0.083. That is multiplied into the final damage value. It cannot be decreased below 2 or increased above 12. Armor and other damage reductions, cover, evasion, city, and vulnerable of the same type, are added together and then reduce the damage by their corresponding factor multiplicatively. But no individual type can reduce the damage by more than 10 divided by 12, or 83%. Armor penetration indicates how many points of armor are ignored. Unless specifically mentioned otherwise, all damage reductions apply to both melee and ranged weapons. Traits are built on top of and use these elementary concepts. For example, weapons with the splash trait gain additional attacks for each extra living member within the target group, and weapons that can ignore the cover trait can ignore cover damage reduction of the target unit. Some consequences of all this. I do like that they summarize this, because obviously this is not the most straight. Like, here's the challenge, right? If you do a simple damage system, then you potentially don't have all the variety of units that they have in the game here. And if you do a complicated system, then it takes some time to sort of like find your feet. So some consequences of all this. Increasing the damage of a weapon may not increase the inflicted damage. Infantry are tankier than their hit points might indicate. Single attack, high damage, non-splash weapons won't be able to kill more than one group member, and at full hit points won't even be able to kill one group member unless the weapon has 100% accuracy. To kill infantry, it's better to have a high accuracy, more attacks, or splash. Hit point gains from leveling are less useful for low hit point group members. The increase in hit points is cancelled out by the increase in group member hit points cap, making it worthless against weapon. Okay, let me just double check. Hit point gains from leveling are less useful for low hit point group members. The increase in hit points is cancelled out by the increase in group member hit point cap, making it worthless against weapons that already exceed that cap. Healing is more valuable on infantry. Modifying low accuracy by a flat amount is more valuable than modifying high accuracy. E.g., increasing accuracy from 6 to 8, 50 to 67% is a 33% damage increase. However, increasing accuracy from 8 to 10, 67 to 83, is a 25% damage increase. Damage reduction of the same type has increasing returns. E.g., increasing armor from 0 to 1 will only give you 12 minus 0 divided 12 minus 1 equals a 9% increase in survivability. However, increasing armor from 9 to 10 will give a 12 minus 9 divided by 12 minus 10, so 3 divided by... Wait. Yeah, 3 divided by 2. 50% increase in survivability. I'm assuming the red ones are ones that I didn't run into yet. So the Concordant is one of the big ones I haven't run into yet. Anyway, What did you all think of that? I'm done for tonight, but I'll confess this wasn't new. I had already done the introduction, but it seemed like a good one that I could do in a single stream. I'm definitely not opposed to playing more of this in the future. I know I still need to get through Tactical Breach Wizards, and I know that I do have other things that I would like to play, like Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop. Hey, Takri, thank you very much for subscribing. You're probably just arriving, aren't you? I was getting ready to wrap up. How are you doing tonight? Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry. I know I DM'd you just to talk about. This is a game that like it's really grim in terms of its like subject matter, but it tells its story in a similar way to Cultist Simulator in terms of giving you sort of like fragments on a lot of lore. So I was very intrigued. And as I mentioned, like I was kind of sold on the game after playing on the weekend. So, excuse me. I believe the Hollow Warlord, the Imperious Exonaut, the Infinite Count. Yes, they added vampires. The Platinum Scion. I think the Syncretic Deva and Twisted Mother are the DLC. I can actually double check that. So yeah, the DLC for the game, digital art book and wallpapers, supporter upgrade, those are like not directly tied to, and original soundtrack. All great, like not knocking it at all. Obviously all related to things outside of playing the game directly. So the DLC, the Twisted and the Hollow, so Twisted Mother and Hollow Warlord, and as advertised, 2 new leaders, 7 new units, 3 new operations, 3 new items, 2 new outposts, 5 new quests, 4 new mutators, and 4 new tracks on a partridge in a pear tree. Platinum and the Infinite, which was released October last year. 2 new leaders, 7 new units, 3 new operations, 3 new items, 2 new outposts, 5 new quests, 4 new mutators, and 4 new tracks. And then, not too long ago, 29 May, the Syncretic and the Imperious, 2 new leaders, 8 new units, 3 new operations, 3 new items, 2 new outposts, 5 new quests, 4 new mutators, 4 new tracks, and presumably is the reason why this game is on sale. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with the Fallen Soldier. Like, I am a little boring in the sense that I stay with the like tutorial faction because it's one that I understand. I think the ability to have like your I mean, one, it's slightly horrifying, the idea that this guy is constantly cutting off flesh so that his soldiers can heal themselves with his special ability. But aside from that, like, it is a really powerful ability to be able to get 2 extra health every turn just for existing. So it feels like a slightly safer choice as far as a faction is concerned. There's the Emulated Mind. So this is Don't Knock, Solitude. You've been dragged into existence by invasive digital mindworms, all screaming their own tedious name. No, it's not a metaphor. The Emulated Mind was once human. There was a past life in her corrupted memory banks, a Copley medal for whole brain emulation, tears blurring her terminal prognosis, her cancer-wasted body trembling as the upload begins, the word error, then nothing. She existed afterwards as an inert thing, processing data without consciousness, and the following decades registered solely as logs. Then ZEPHON's assault changed everything. The AI's brute force attacks shattered the upload's encryption. For billions of processing cycles, ZEPHON reformed key parts of her systems in its data image. Her automated defenses purged the connection before she was fully overwritten, but the changes were permanent. As her system repaired itself using ZEPHON's code, a unique consciousness emerged from the digital primordial blocks. She awoke. In the milliseconds between oblivion and rebirth, a jarring array of artificial senses flooded the emulated mind, and she silently screamed as they registered the expressionless metal face and disc-like eyes that stared back at her from every reflection. Now trapped in her human past and machine present, this new world holds no horror for the emulated mind. She has survived cancer. She has survived ZEPHON. She will survive this. So this is the cyber affinity, so not the human that we had. So maybe one thing I can do is learn the human tech tree. So we could do Fallen Soldier. The Furtive Tribunal is voice affinity. Heartless Artificer's cyber, so Hollow Warlord is human affinity. This one's interesting because its loyalty goes up if you either kill or have units die in turns. But if you don't do that, then you start losing loyalty. Honorable Aristocrat, human affinity. Imperious Exonaut, one of the DLC factions, again, human. Infinite Count, again, presumably... Come on, let's face it, it's a vampire. Definitely voice affinity. Platinum Scion, cyber affinity. Practical Romantic, human affinity. This one actually seems kind of like a logical next step after the Fallen Soldier. Rouge Operative, Rogue Operative, cyber affinity. Syncretic Deva, I was a little surprised to see cyber affinity here, but there you go. Twisted Mother, unsurprisingly, voice affiliated. And Untold Prophet, voice. So, I don't know, one of the things I might try if I want to move out from Fallen Soldier would be to go for the other human factions. But I don't know, maybe I want to be the Eldritch Horrors, or maybe I want to be the Cyberpunk or something like that. The other thing is, if I wanted, there is a spectator mode. This was also true for Gladius. So if you just want to watch the computer fight itself, you can. Last thing I'll mention is there's the mutators. So, you know, it's one thing to win the game, right? But what does the mutator actually give you? So because I asked, what are you? It says, can only research technologies with your affinity or no affinity. So in this case, I would not have the option of researching voice or cyber, which in fairness, like, that's not actually a problem for me as far as the way I played the Fallen Soldier is concerned. But it has been suggested that you get a different ending if you play with a mutator active. So I am actually quite curious what happens. The catch is, and this will be a future episode, there's a few parameters that you can adjust here. Actually, more than a few, but a couple that I would just point out. So Iron Man, AI, aggressiveness, all of these are pretty standard. So escalation pace. Adjust how quickly the escalation towards the finale progresses, and if at all. So there is actually a big crisis event, a little bit like Stellaris, at the end of this. Victory requires defeating NPCs. If defeating the NPCs, Anchorite, Chiefess, and ZEPHON is required to win an elimination victory. So, you know, you can disable that if you want, or you can say, nope, I need to beat the non-player character factions as well. Avoid duplicate random factions. I like this, actually, personally. Okay, for some reason I thought there was more on the final battle. And then density parameters. There's a lot that you can do in terms of managing the planets and that. I will confess, for me, it would be a little nice if it had, like, you know how Civilization will have these similar parameters, but they will load those into preset maps. I'm not clever enough to, like, mess around with the parameters for world generation to make something interesting. So having a couple of preset ones would be kind of nice, just so I can get my bearings. But overall, I thought this was a really cool game. I'm glad I got it. Probably wasted a bit of money getting the DLC, just because, like, there's clearly plenty in the base game for me to have found my feet. But on the other hand, like I said, it's good to support the stuff that you're interested in. So I don't necessarily regret the choice either. I did just want to say one last thing about plans for the week. I completely forgot that this week on Wednesday, I'm actually going to be going to a dinner with one of my profs from Vancouver. So I will not be able to stream that evening just because I am going to be enjoying some food and chatting with a really, really good economist. But I will be back Friday. I don't know if I'll do ZEPHON. I don't know if I'll do Tactical Breach Wizards. Maybe I will feel in the mood to do some Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, because I know that's one that I haven't. Done recently. But I did just want to be upfront that I will be missing a Wednesday, and I do apologize for the short notice on that, but it was one that I had forgotten. Anyway, I'm making this a long goodbye. I'm going to find someone to host. I'm going to play a little Outlast on my own time, and then call it an evening. Okay. I don't have that many people online. I'll host Kilgore Trout, who is playing Soldier of Fortune. That's like the old Raven game. So I suppose, for those of you that like the violence of of this game, your time has come. Again, no stream Wednesday. Normally there is. I will be back Friday. Thank you everybody for watching. I really like this game, and we'll no doubt do some more of it in the somewhat near future. But until then, have a good evening, and we'll see you in the next one.